you're going to have a disaster on your hands, right? Our company is a wonderful company, and the tech people are incredible. Our technology is really better here than anywhere else in the industry. But there's a problem with that, and that's you could spend all dang day doing stuff that doesn't matter on technology, okay? So I'm going to share that with you, and I'm going to give you what I think is a best practice to be able to do it and to do these efficiently and to make the biggest difference for the client, be able to recruit that client through the FNA, be able to pick up larger life sales. So, yeah, what happened to the marker? Here it is. Got it. Okay. So I want you to think about a couple of things. First things first is FNAs are for clients. Okay, FNAs are for clients. What does that mean? Okay, clients are people who give commitments. So let's go and start all the way at the very front of the process here. You've called a 3, 4, or 5 pointer, you've given them a kitchen table script, right? So Doug and Dina, I just wanted to pop by and show you guys what I was doing. If you or somebody you know in the future could use what I'm doing, I'd love for you to know enough you'd feel comfortable referring me. So as far as us getting together, what's better, weekends or weekdays, right? So we're starting with the KT script, right? That's how we got there. We got to their house. One of my RVPs texted me 2 days ago and says, how do you transition into the life close on the initial FNA if it's at the office? I said, well, I would never do an initial kitchen table at the office. I would do it at their kitchen table, hence the name kitchen table, right? Okay, this is an RVP that asked me this. I'm thinking, my good Lord, they either don't listen to my audios or I've done just a horrible job. It's like, you know, when your kids do something really bad at school and you feel like a terrible parent, right? Like, that's what I felt like in that moment. I'm like, oh my gosh, right? So let's get basic, right? You call them with the KT script, you go to their home, you run the KT presentation. That's on YouTube. It's on SoundCloud. We're not going to have time to go through that, okay? But what you need to find is it all works together, right? So if you're skipping parts in the beginning, you're going to have a problem on the FNA because what you have said and done this far has not lined up to what you're doing now, right? It's a process that if you follow, it is really idiot-proof, okay? If you're on an FNA 9 out of 10 times, you're going to be closing some sort of business, probably a lot of business, if you followed the process. If you haven't followed the process, who knows what's going to happen, right? And you're going to spend a lot of time giving a lot of information to people who say, thanks so much, I'm going to think about this. And that's the end of the story, right? Okay? Which goes back to FNAs are for who? Clients. They're for clients. They're not for potential clients. They're for what? Clients, right? This is a free service. It costs about $1,000 to sit down with a licensed financial planner and do a plan that makes specific recommendations to people. We're going to do it for free, and this plan is way better than their plan because the financial advisor doesn't care about their debt whatsoever. They're not giving them a written plan to deal with their debt really at any major house in the industry that just doesn't even exist, okay? So you got to remember, right? When people go to work at their job, they expect to get what? Paid. Well, so do we, right? Okay, so FNAs are for clients. So you're doing the kitchen table presentation, right? And your goal on the kitchen table presentation is to do what? 1, set the FNA. 2, close the life insurance. 3, set up for referrals and recruiting. On the initial kitchen table, that's our job. We're not going on the initial kitchen table and trying to do the needs analysis right then. If you do that, you're going to overwhelm that client. You're going to give them analysis paralysis. They're not going to move forward because it's a lot. You're going to break it down into a process. The initial kitchen table, our job is to schedule the FNA, right? To take the life insurance application and to foreshadow our recruiting opportunity, right, and referrals. Okay, that's our job on the initial kitchen table. Very, very, very rarely, if ever, will you do a needs analysis off of an initial kitchen table, okay? So let's talk about setting up the FNA. Sales is a commitment business. The sale is made not at the FNA. The sale is made on the initial kitchen table with commitments. So what are the 2 commitments, right? So if I'm sitting with Doug and Dina and I'm talking about the FNA, I'm saying, Doug, Dina, listen, what I'd like to do is I'd like to come back and I'd like to do a financial needs analysis for you. Okay, the average financial planner charges about $1,100. To do one, we charge a price nobody bickers about. We charge free. Because we charge free, Doug, I'm going to ask you guys for 2 things in return. Okay, you got to be very crystal clear on the 2 commitments, and you need to get a yes, not a sure, not a I'll think about it, not a we'll see, a yes, or you don't move any further. Okay? So Doug, the first thing I'm going to ask is when I come back, and you guys can look at me across your kitchen table and you can say, Ian, this is really, really good. I got a lot of value out of this. I'm going to ask Doug and Dina that you'd be willing and able to refer me to 5 or 10 people that are married, have kids, have a home, and have an income that might also find some benefit in the free information that you found benefit in. All right? Okay? Now, if when I come back, it's not good, you're like, hey, you know what? I already knew all this. You were really pushy. Your breath smelled bad, whatever. I don't want the referrals. Is that fair? Yes. I'm getting a yes, right? If y'all just did this, you could sustain your business and make $200,000-$300,000 a year never recruiting a soul. But most of you don't do this, or you're too chicken to ask for the referrals at the end, right? Or you're just skipping over this, and so you don't have a process to get the referral, right? I'm getting the referral right up front by setting it, if I do A, you're gonna do B. Is that correct? Yep. Yes. So when I've done A, I expect to get B, right? It's not a maybe, it's not a how do I get it, it's this is how it's gonna work here, right? Okay? So I'm getting a yes on referrals, okay? The second thing I'm gonna ask is, Doug and Dina, listen, when I come back and I put together, listen to how I word this. When I come back and I put together a plan that does help you get out of debt faster, it does help you better protect your family, it does help you save more, or at least more efficiently than you're saving now, and it costs you the same amount per month that you're currently spending to do these things, Doug and Dina, I'm gonna ask that you would move forward with the improvements that I found for you, okay? Now, when I come back, if it's not better, it's more expensive, it doesn't make any sense, I'm not gonna ask you to move forward. Is that fair? Yes, I'm getting a yes. The sale is done right then and there. Whatever I come back and say, do this, do this, do this, provided it's in those parameters, right? They have committed up front to me that they're going to move forward. You should never, if you go on FNAs and you're not getting people to move forward, where are you screwing up? On the commitments, right? You haven't gotten a solid commitment. You've said something like, well, let me just do the FNA for you and you'll see, right? No, they're not going to see, right? You've got to set a parameter by which we're going to operate in this relationship, right? We're doing you a great service free of charge. In return for that service, if I do A, I want you to do B. So we've got to get an upfront commitment on that. Okay, so those are the commitments that we walk into the FNA with, right? So we set up the needs analysis, we transition into the life close by saying, what, Lance? So I'm going to need you to have this, this, and this, okay, when I come back. But a couple things I do want to take a look at today before I leave, just to maybe take a copy or at least get a look at it, is number one, what you have for your current retirement accounts, old retirement accounts, like IRAs, 401ks, you have anything like that? Great, let's see if we can get those statements. The other thing I want to look at real quickly is what you have for your life insurance. So obviously you have some life insurance, right? And they're going to say what? One of 5 things. We have an audio for that and a video for that. The video is on Primerica Online. From that point in the presentation forward, every variable of what could happen in that life discussion, how to close, okay? So we've set the FNA, we come back, right? So listen, what happens if you're with somebody who has no life insurance, okay? They have kids, they don't move forward on the initial kitchen table with the life app but want to do the FNA. What happens? I'm not coming back. If you can't see the need right now for the foundation of a financial plan, which is life insurance, right? Listen, that's the most important part of anybody's financial plan because it's the only part they can't do tomorrow, if they're not here tomorrow, right? If you're alive tomorrow, you can set up an IRA, yes or yes. You can pay your debts through debt stacking tomorrow, just like you can today, yes or yes. If you're dead, there's no fixing dead, and your family's never gonna get out of the financial problem they have. So if they're not gonna buy time one, and it makes sense for them to buy time one, they're not gonna buy time two either, or time three, for some of you who are trifecta closers, right? Or the fourth or fifth time, well, I'm really gonna see. No, if they don't see now, they're not gonna see then. FNAs are for who? Clients. They're for clients. They're not to get clients, they are for clients. Do you understand the difference? Okay, there's a big difference in what I'm telling you, right? FNA is not a tool to get clients, it's a tool to help our clients. Right? Okay? So if you have somebody that should be buying, right, no insurance, and they're not moving forward, but they want to do the FNA, they will waste your time. They're already not taking your good advice. They're just going to make you spend more time to not take more good advice. Right? Does that make sense? So we want to help clients with FNAs, not prospective clients with FNAs. The only exception to that rule, okay, is if I've got an FNA booked and they can't find their coverage, they can't find the policy today, right? Or there's some bizarre, you're competing against some super old term and you're looking at numbers and there's a discrepancy, right? You could take that on using some of the life stuff we teach you in that video, or you could come back and the FNA will show them they have the wrong amount for the wrong amount of time, and so now it almost doesn't matter what they have, right? We're gonna find something better. That's the exception to that rule. Okay, is everybody following this so far? Good. I wanna make sure we set it up right, because if we set it up right, the rest of this makes a lot of sense, and you see how it all plays together. If we don't set it up right, then you're seeing just the piece and we don't necessarily know why did it happen that way versus this way. Mike, did you have a question?
Yeah, so you just gave people like two options basically as far as they had like an old term, right?
Correct.
As far as coming back and ending the FNA or just trying to close right there and then.
If you're competent.
If you were on the KT, what would you try to do?
Right, well I'm competent, right? So I'm just gonna kill that policy in 2 seconds right in front of it, right? But let's say you're new, right? You're new, you're not up to speed on that like you should be. You can get back with a carryback, and now you don't even have to compete product to product, because the FNA just shows them like what you have is not right. Right? So now it's not like this product versus this product, is I have something but it doesn't work, so let's just scrap that all together and go with something that's really built exactly for my situation. So it's an easier close, but it takes longer to get to. You got to get back there to it.
Which is a lot of times what I want to try the first time.
Correct, exactly. Exactly. So we're gonna set up the FNA, okay? When we come back, okay, so let me give you some other tidbits. I don't know what Aristida was showing you there. I've never seen that in my life, okay? I do not send stuff to clients beforehand to have them fill out. I'm not gonna gather any form of paper data, okay? I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna do the FNA in front of the client real time. Why? Because I wanna recruit the client, okay? And so when you wanna be the financial advisor and have this air of mystique about what you're doing for them, right? You ain't gonna recruit none of them, because they think you're doing some wizardry they have no idea how to do. I'm gonna pull up my iPad in front of them, and in 20 minutes I'm gonna do their FNA, and then I'm gonna say, Doug, Dina, did you see anything here that you couldn't do with a little bit of training? Or I was just filling in numbers, right? Took 20 minutes. You do that if I helped you? Great. Because the number one reason in market people won't join our business on a kitchen table is they don't think they could do what you're doing because they don't know what you just did. Right? So I'm showing them, look, I'm poking numbers here on the computer. Could you do that, Doug, right? Okay, I don't want to be the financial advisor. I want them to see, look how simple and easy that was. Could you do that if I was willing to help you? Okay? So I don't take any data, I don't send, and I know there are other RVPs in here that probably do it different, and all I can say to that is follow the pile of money. Okay? Look at the guy with the biggest pile of money and do what that guy's doing, okay? And so that would be me, in case you're confused. Okay, and so follow the pile, right? Why don't I care if they have all the data, right? Because they're just going to have to do it twice. I'm still going to have questions for them when I get there, right? So it wastes their time, it wastes your time. There's no point in that, right? So you just tell them, here's what you need. Statements for what? Debt, insurance, and investments. If you can't find some, don't worry about it. You're going to know most of this off the top of your head. It's your money. You see it every single month over and over. No big deal. Okay? Right? Because guess what? If you're like, if you need this, guess what you're going to get a whole lot of? Reschedules, because they can't find one piece of the thing that you're looking for, right? I don't care. If you can rough ballpark me on stuff, I'm good. If we can't find it, we'll call. Right? Okay? So you want to make it simple and easy for that client to get back with you, for you to be able to do that. So when we get back in front of that client, 90+% of the time we've already done the life insurance. Okay? 90+% of the time. So what are you here looking for? You're looking for referrals, you're looking for a recruit, you're looking for securities business, you're looking for legal, okay? Whatever else you can find, that's what you're looking for. Okay, so when we come back, the first thing that I'm going to do when I get back to Danny is I'm going to solidify that life sale. Hey, Danny, by the way, you know, have you been able to do your medicals yet? Well, I'm just making sure he's moving, and I'm reaffirming what a great choice he's made. And the second thing I'm doing is taking him right back to the commitments. Hey, Danny, I'm really excited to go through that needs analysis with you. It is going to help you in so many ways. You're going to be so impressed. I know that. Before we start, I just want to make sure that we're still on the same page. If you remember last time when we talked, right, I had said because we did this for free, I was going to ask you for 2 things in return. You remember what those 2 things were, Danny? Yeah. Okay, good. The first was, and I'm verbatim, when I get done today, if you can look at me and say, you know what, Ian, this is really, really good. This helped me a ton. I'm going to ask you for 5 or 10 referrals, okay? So I want you to grab a piece of paper if you haven't already. I want you to start jotting down some names while we're going through this, right, that might benefit. And so if it's not good, you're going to tell me that, right? Like, hey, I already know this, and I'm not going to ask you for the referrals, right? You're still good with that, right, Danny? I'm reaffirming the commitment because clients forget. They forget. Half of them don't even remember why you're coming back over. Why was I, what am I doing here? Right, okay, I'm dead serious. Why? Because people think about who? Themselves. So as soon as you're out of their sight, they forget about you, what you did, why you're here. They don't know, right? So I'm going to remind them of what I have asked for. And I'm going to get another what? Yes. Well, I'm not moving any further until I get yes. Right? Because if he's got an objection, let's handle it now before I waste an hour of my time with this joker. Right? So I want to find a solid yes, okay? So Danny, remember the second thing that I asked you is that when we do this today, if I can show you a way to pay off your debt faster, to better protect your family, we've already done a little bit of that, right? But we're gonna even look at that a little more closely, okay? What's up, big dog? Okay, so better protect your family, and if I can help you save more or more efficiently, and it's not going to cost you more than you're already spending to do these things on a monthly basis, I was going to ask that you would go forward. You're still good with that, right? Okay, very good. You would be stunned how many times, if you don't reconfirm the commitment, that commitment has eroded for some reason. Okay? Not necessarily even because they changed their mind, they just forget. So if you don't reaffirm the commitment a second time before you start collecting 1 ounce of data, you're going to do a bunch of FNAs and they're going to say, oh, thanks so much, let me think about this for a little while. Right? Hey, can I have some people? Well, you know, I don't really know who to refer you. You're just going to get, right, a bunch of shape shifting. You ever seen Power Rangers when you were a little kid, right? Remember the putties? They'd come out and they, right? That's what the client starts doing at you. They're shape shifting away from the commitments that you've asked them for, right? Okay, so you got to make sure that you let everybody look at your neighbor. Go, you know, you got to reaffirm the commitment before you start. Okay, the commitment before you start. So let me give you the intangibles along the way, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna go in, I'm gonna go in, and we're gonna create a dummy client. I'm not talking about you, don't worry, okay? We're gonna create a dummy client, I'm gonna walk you through how to take the data, and then I'm gonna walk you through a couple of things that there's so much good stuff on here. Ironically, a couple of very easy, simple things are not on here, right? So I'm gonna show you exactly what I do and exactly how I do it, and we're gonna put it all together, and by the time you leave today, you're really gonna be a pro at being able to sit down with a client at their kitchen table, real time do an FNA, take 20 minutes on it, make a huge difference in their life, get the referrals, get increases on policies, get statements for investments, get legal done, okay, and get them in the business, okay? You're gonna be able to do that in a very short amount of time. It's gonna be very simple, it's gonna be very easy, okay? But you gotta know what you're doing because there's too much stuff there and it's missing some of the stuff that we really want to have in, okay? So go ahead, Bobby, you have a question?
One quick question. On setting the FNA, I know I've heard you talk about setting it like a week from when you had your initial commitment.
Sure.
Others have set it for the carryback. You know, like
Of the policy?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's asking a good question here. So he's asking so we've closed the Life app, we've done the initial kitchen table. Do we set the needs analysis for 7 days out, or do we set it for when we deliver the policy? Okay, so the answer is either, right? And it really will be dictated by, on the initial kitchen table before we leave, right? The recruiting question we ask 100% of the time is what? Bob, let me just ask, because I'd be remiss to not at least ask you, but on a scale of 1 to 10, based on what you've seen today, right? 1 being, I hate helping people. I also hate making money. This would not be for me. 10 being, if I could make a few grand a month on the side, I'd be very, very interested in finding out more. Where do you put yourself on that scale of 1 to 10 based on what you've seen so far? We ask that on every initial kitchen table at the end. That's the recruiting question, right? And so I'm not trying to recruit people. I am looking at their natural interest level based on our first appointment. If he's like 8, 9, 10, and I can't get him to join now, I want to be back quickly. If he's a 3, 4, 5, I'll wait till the policy comes in to deliver it. Because otherwise I'm gonna have to go back a 3rd time to deliver the policy. I don't mind doing that if you're interested in joining, right? Because by the time your policy comes, we'll have you licensed, we'll be out, right? So if there's a good recruiting opportunity, I wanna be back quick. If there's a good securities opportunity, I wanna be back quick. If there's not really a lot of stuff going on out there, I will come back on the policy delivery. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that way, you just don't buy yourself a bunch more trips that are not gonna be great revenue generators, right? We were still gonna do it for them. We wanna do it for them, but we wanna make sure that your time is valuable and is protected. So that's a great question, okay? So here's the intent, oh, go ahead.
So then how would you do that? Because when we're going through the first part, we
So you set the FNA,
Yeah.
you then close the Life, you then ask the recruiting question,
Yeah.
right? So you're closing up, right? And so you can do one of 2 things. You can tell them, you know what? One of the things that might work a little bit better, I know your time is valuable, but what we can do is, if you want, we can go ahead and we can just set this FNA for when the policy comes back, right? I try not to do that. What I'll do with them is 2 or 3 days before, I'll give them a call and say, hey, you know what? I have some stuff come up on that day. I'd like to reschedule that if it's okay with you. And I'm really looking out around this time, right? And I'll just reschedule it with them. Most of the time on stuff that I'm on, I'm gonna go back quickly because they're interested in something or they have some money somewhere, okay? But if you're on the very low end of the market, you're not gonna see a lot of people with money, right? And so you might have a little bit of a slower lag time getting back with them, okay? Does that make sense? All right, so the intangibles of doing the needs analysis. Number 1 is you've gotta constantly sell them on that they're making a good choice to do it. How much further ahead they're gonna be. Danny, listen, I'm really excited to do this with you today, right? Because you are gonna be miles and miles ahead of of other people that are your friends, people at work who are not doing this, right? Okay, they're kicking the can down the road, but you are making a great choice. Why am I doing this, right? I want him to feel good about the good choice he's making, because he is making a great choice. I'm also insulating him against the idiot at the water cooler when he's like, hey, I'm getting my finances in order, and that guy's like, that's dumb, man, you should live for today, right? Because if he's an employee, he's surrounded by people that think that way. What do you mean you're putting $300 a month away in a mutual fund, right? Like, Mike, don't you know you don't make any money in the stock? That's like gambling, right? Okay, that's what poor people think. Stock market's like gambling. No, it's the opposite of gambling. The longer you gamble, the more statistically you lose. The longer you invest, the more statistically you win. It's the exact opposite of gambling, but you're an idiot, right? And so you're gonna idiot-fy other friends of yours if you're not careful. So I'm just, right? I don't want to have that FNA reschedule, and I definitely don't want to set up at PAC and have that change because they talk to some imbecile somewhere, right? Okay? So I'm making sure that he knows, hey, you're different than a lot of other people. You're going to be really, really happy you do this, right? And so listen, again, I'm never going to talk like this to the client, right? You all are agents. You understand what I'm saying, right? Okay? But there are people out there, lots and lots of them, that think investing money is stupid. Or if they don't at least think that, that's what they practice because they don't got no money, right? Okay, so you just got to understand that that could go awry if you don't do a great job of constantly selling them on the great choice and what a difference we're going to make for them, right? Okay, Danny, listen, I'm so excited to do this with you. I know how much of a difference we're going to make. It's going to astound you, right? People get what they expect. So what I'm going to do is set his expectation that this is going to be good, that it's going to help him a ton, right? Why? Because when I want to recruit him, say, Dan, could you imagine all the people you know, all your friends? I mean, everybody needs to see something like this. You'd agree with that, right? I mean, look at what a difference we made for you. What if you could make that difference for other people? Right? I want him to feel good about what he's getting into and what we're going to do for other people, right? I'm putting some English on the cue ball. Now he ain't going to fight me about setting appointments when I recruit him because he's like, wow, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. Okay? Right? You see how it all kind of works together piece by piece? Okay? So you got to constantly be selling him on a good choice, on how he's different than other people, on what a difference it's going to make. All through the data collection. You're selling them on that, okay? Then we're going to have the 1 to 10 questions. There are 4 of them. Start, the debt, the insurance, the investments. So as I start putting in some data, so Danny, listen, I'm going to start taking some information for you. Before we do that, just on a scale of 1 to 10, okay, if you were gonna rate your current financial situation, 1 being, I'm totally broke, I'm about to be bankrupt, I can't even pay my bills, 10 being, I have multiple millions of dollars in cash, I have no bills whatsoever, I'm totally financially independent. Danny, where do you put yourself right now on that scale of 1 to 10? And I want the client to give me their assessment of where they think they are. Okay, of where they think they are. Why is that important? Number 1 is it tells me a lot about that client. If I got a guy who says he's an 8 and 10 is I have multi-millions of dollars, right, and I have no bills, and this guy got 50 grand saved and a whole bunch of debt, I know I'm dealing with a self-proclaimed hero here, right? That like I'm gonna have to work a little harder with that getting through his mind that maybe he's not doing as well as he thinks, right? If they're a 3 or a 2, I want to know why did you say that? What am I getting into here that I don't maybe know about? I just want to get a feel for that client. Most of all, what I want is this. Most of all, what I want is this. When they say it, it's 100% true. When I say it, they doubt every word. So all I want to do is I want to get them to verbalize what they think their current state is so I don't have to say what I think their current state is. You following that? Yeah. Okay. Very good. So that's question number 1 right at the beginning. So now I'm going to start taking some data, right? And I'm going to take data on 3 areas only. And you'll see this when we get online and we do it. I'm only taking data in 3 areas. 1 is their debt. 2 is their insurance. 3 is their investments. There are many, many other tabs on the financial needs analysis. I have never opened them. I will never open them. I don't care what's in them. It does not matter to me. It doesn't matter to the client. Okay? What matters is those big three things, right? Okay? There's three problems in life. One, you die too soon and you don't have any money. Two, you live too long and you don't have any money. Three, you are burdened by an unbearable weight of debt between point A and point B. Those are the three big problems people have financially. Saving $20 a month on your auto insurance does not rank in one of those three. Okay? It might help you, but it's not a game changer. So we're going to deal in the game changers, and we'll come back for the knickknacks along the way. Okay? Everybody following that? So when I get to the debt tab, Lance, I'm going to start taking some information about your debt, but I want to ask you on a scale of 1 to 10, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how high would you rate your desire to be completely debt-free as soon as possible? 1 is, I don't care about debt, give me your debt and your debt, I love debt. 10 being, man, if I could get out of debt maybe 5 or 10 years faster, paying the same money, I would do it in a heartbeat. Where do you put your commitment level to becoming totally debt-free? Okay, so when he tells me a 10, and then I show him the plan and he says I need to think about it, that doesn't make sense. What am I doing here? I'm getting them emotionally connected to the result I'm going to show him, right? If he says 7, now you and I are going to have a chat real quick before I take any data. I want to understand, why don't you care about this? Right? And sometimes you'll meet people when economies are good like they are now. You will meet people that getting out of debt is not a high priority to them. Why? They feel confident in their income. Their debt to income ratios are on the lower end, so it's not hurting them to service the debt. In 08, 09, 2010, they were jumping off cliffs trying to get out of debt, right? Okay? But you don't see, so I want to know what Lance says, because if Lance tells me a 6, right, then I know when I'm compiling money to distribute to different places, I shouldn't put a whole lot there because he doesn't even care anyways. I would do better to distribute the funds that are available, right, to other areas like insurance and investments, right? So I'm going to ask him that on every one, right? When I get to insurance, Lance, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not important, 10 extremely important, how important would you say that it is that your family is well protected? If something were to happen to you, that they would be well taken care of? I've never had somebody say 5, right? Okay, so we already closed the insurance most likely. Why is this important? If you do FNAs, almost always you're going to do what? An increase. Because all you did is you gave them an 8 to 10 times number, right? Okay, and what the needs analysis is doing is it's looking at other areas, freeing up money, and then redistributing the same money more effectively for the client. You'll see that in a minute, okay? So I'm going to find money to get them what they really should have instead of what they thought worked in the budget as an isolated product. Okay, does everybody understand that?
Yeah.
So you're going to do tons of increases if you're doing needs analysis, because virtually never do they buy enough for long enough, and they do that because they're working in terms of, this is a new expense. If I can find the money to pay for it, they'll get what they really should have. Okay, so I'm asking them that before I'm taking any data on the life insurance. Same thing on the investment, right? Lance, on a scale of 1 to 10, okay, 1 being not important, 10 being very, very important, how important would you say that it is that at some point in the future you're able to retire comfortably with dignity? Okay, I want to know. Sometimes here people say, well, 6, 7, I'm never going to be able to retire, I'm going to work till I die. And you'll hear that a lot, right? And say, well, we're going to look at that, but so he didn't give me what I was looking for, so I'm going to rephrase it. So Lance, if I was able to show you a way to put away more money for retirement than you're doing now, and it doesn't cost you more, obviously you would want to do that, right? Because it is important to you. What you're saying to me is you just don't see it as being a reality. Is that kind of what I hear you saying? I want to make sure that I'm getting lots of yeses. What am I doing? I'm compiling lots of yeses and compiling lots of commitments, so when I bring them the data, I'm not fighting them on it, right? And you would think, why would somebody fight you on getting out of debt and saving more money for the future and protecting their family? Why are they broke now? Why have they been an adult in the richest country in the world and they have nothing after working 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years? Why? Because they don't think right about money, right? The wealthy think right about money. Everybody else thinks incorrectly about money. That's why they're wealthy and unwealthy. You could redistribute all the money in America tomorrow, everybody be even. On Monday morning, there would be rich and poor again. Because the rich are finding a way to get the poor people's money, right? By buying assets and selling them to poor people. And poor people are spending the money on anything they can find because they don't understand how the money's working, right? Okay? So we've got to get those commitments. If you get the commitments along the way, all you're doing is you're helping to ensure that when you're showing them what to do, that they're going to do it and they're not going to try to garage sale your data. Well, I like this. I want to do the get out of debt part, Amy, but I really don't, I really don't think I need that much insurance. You don't get that when you got it's a 10 for me to take care of my family, right? Okay, because say, hey, listen, Lance, I appreciate that, but a few minutes ago, you told me on a scale of 1 to 10 that you were a 10 on taking care of your family. So what I've shown you is what you need to do there. I've shown you how to pay for it, right? So I'm confused. It sounds to me like maybe you weren't a 10, right? You were a 3 or whatever. So I have ammunition now to go back because when they say it, it's 100% true. When I say it, they're doubting what? Every word. And so I'm going to make sure that I have their own words to give back to them in case they go crazy in the 30 minutes I'm doing the needs analysis with them. Which doesn't happen all the time, but the weaker you are on the commitments, the more crazy the client seems to go during that sit down, right? Does everybody understand that?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a couple of intangibles there. Let me show you a couple of other ideas that you need to understand before we go through this. You're not showing this to the client, but you need to understand how this works. This is how people's money works. It goes 5 places, okay? There are 5 expenditure categories in every human being's outflow of cash, okay? Servicing debt, paying taxes, different insurance plans, investing and saving for the future, and everything else. Food, gas, clothes, vacations, kids, you name it. Every other expenditure that you could think of goes into that category. The financial needs analysis does not look at this. We don't care about that. We don't care about everything else. We don't need you to change your budget. We don't need you to make cuts. We don't need you to be on rice and beans like Dave Ramsey says. We don't need that. We're going to take the monies that are here, 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 and here, and the concept of the needs analysis is this. All that money we look at is one giant pile of money, and we're going to start from scratch on those 4. And we're going to rebuild something that's appropriate. You understand that? Okay. Maybe, let's see, I could probably draw this on this and put it up on the screen. Give me a second. Hold on. We good there? Is that up?
Yep.
Okay, very good. All right. All right, so I'm going to draw it up here so you can see what I'm doing. So again, you have this sort of 5-layered area, right? Debt, taxes, insurance, investments, and everything else. Right? So here's how your client thinks that they're going to solve their money problem. They think they need to cut back here.
Yeah.
And that's just not true. There's enough money going to debt service, taxes, insurance premiums, and savings already 99.9% of the time that all you need to do is look at what they're doing because they don't know anything about debt. They don't know anything about their insurance. They have no clue what to do with savings. They have no idea how tax code works. None of it. And so there's plenty of money in those 4 areas to, again, if we kind of look at that money as just a big pile of money, and then we can start from scratch we can set up a plan that works for them far better than what they're doing now, and we're going to get them out of debt years earlier. We're going to help them save hundreds of thousands of dollars more money. They're going to be better insured. They might even have some more money back in their pocket after we're done, right? But that's not how they think. They don't understand that. They think, for me to do better financially means I need to cut back, means I need to do better at saving, etc. Okay? Is everybody understanding that? Okay. So I'm looking for money in this process. Okay? One of the greatest places to look for money, so let me teach you this concept because you may have to explain this to clients. Okay? One of the greatest places to find money by a mile is here. Taxes. If you're dealing with people who are employees, they virtually all get a tax refund every year. Okay? Statistically, last year the average tax refund was $3,300. Okay? So what is a tax refund? A tax refund is every paycheck the government takes money from you. At the end of the year you file your taxes, and then the government says, oops, you don't actually owe as much as we took from you. Here's your money back, right? Okay, and everybody's ecstatic. In W-2 world, right, they're buying bull crap right and left, right? Okay, any car salesman in the room? Any cars? Good. What happens around this time between now and like the end of April with tax money? People coming in right and left, right? Okay, why? Because that's how poor folks think, right? They have the government save for them, they get the money, and then they buy some redonkulous thing they don't have the money for, with a down payment with the tax refund, okay? So yeah, TVs, all sorts of stuff. So, but watch this, okay? So here's the math. If you had a tax refund of $6,000, that means all the money was taken from you. When you actually owe the taxes, you owed $6,000 less than they took from you, so they give it back. Well, what that would also mean is that theoretically, that's how much money per month, too much, being taken from their paychecks. $500 a month. So you could go in and you could change their withholdings at their employer. You could reduce the amount of money they're taking by $500 a month. And next year their tax refund, if nothing else changed, would be what? Zero. Be zero, right? So instead of getting the money back in a lump sum at the end of the year, we put it back in their paycheck every month, and it's the same thing. Does everybody understand that? Yeah. Your clients are scared to death of this because they have no idea how taxes work. I don't want to owe. Well, it's not mathematically possible if they owe you $6,000 and you just take the $6,000 that you would owe them. Does everybody understand that math? Right? Why did they give it back to you? Because they took it and they owed you. So as long as you don't take back more than they owed you, you can't owe them. But W-2 employees are scared to death of owing taxes. Yeah. Right? Okay? So you might have to help them see. So here's what I recommend that we do so you don't give your client a heart attack. You should take 50% of the money they're getting refunded and put it back in their paycheck. How do you do that? You advise them to go to HR and to adjust their withholding. So if your withholding is zero, okay, what's happening? They're taking massive taxes from you, right? Again, this is how the W-2 mindset thinks. The W-2 mindset thinks that the withholding number is the amount of children you have. Seriously, that's what they think. Well, I only have 3 kids, so why would I claim 9? Well, you're not claiming dependents. This is your withholding. This is how you're choosing a number on a scale about how much money you want withheld. It has nothing to do with your actual taxes. We're not changing your taxes. We're changing how much you're giving them in preparation for your taxes. Okay? So here's how it works, right? What I advise, right, on households making less than 100K, every additional number you claim on a withholding, right, you're going to get about $50 a month back in your paycheck, give or take. So it's a guesstimate. You might need to finagle it a little bit, but if we want to put $250 a month back in somebody's paycheck and they're at 2 right now on their withholding, where do they need to start? 7. right? So they changed that, and what we're telling them is look for another $250 a month back in your paycheck. Okay? If it's more than that, we might need to back off a little bit. If it's less than that, we might need to bump it. But this is free money. Whose money is that?
Theirs.
It's theirs, except they can't use it all year. So they're cash poor, and then they get an interest-free loan that they've given to the government back. By the time they get it back, what have they already started doing for 4 months this year? Paying into it again, right? So people literally, they have millions of dollars of net worth tied up in tax refunds that are perpetual, right? And so you ask a client, what did you buy with your tax refund 3 years ago? And watch them go blank like a deer in headlights. They have no idea. But if they took that $250 a month, put a little bit on life insurance, put the rest in a mutual fund, 30 years from now, they're gonna know what happened to that tax refund when $1 million is sitting there in cash, right? Okay? So is everybody following this right now?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I hear a lot from people, well, I like getting that money at that time of the year.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. But if you get it little by little, you get it all at one, you're getting the same amount, right? But here's what's wrong with getting it back at that time of year about how much interest does the IRS pay you? Okay, do you have any credit card debt? And that's 12, 15, 18%. So you're giving them money at zero, and then you're getting charged 18, 20%. We just take the money and pay them and save yourself 18 or 20% a year. Does that make sense? Okay, wealthy people owe taxes, Bob. Poor people let the government take their taxes for them. End of story. You're right. I make more than some of you made last year in interest off my tax money that I hold until I owe it. Right? April 15th, I got to send the IRS a check for multiple six figures, right? And I've earned 8, 9% on that money sitting there all year. And you've given it to the government and like too much, and you're not mad about it. It doesn't make any sense, right? Okay? So you just need to educate. See, Primerica is a financial education company, right? This one concept is $1 million difference to the average person. A straight up $1 million in their retirement accounts by not having all the money going to tax refund, but getting some of it and putting it immediately back away, right? So watch. Again, let's use that $6,000 example. If we put all that money, right, back in their paycheck, and then took it and auto-drafted it into their mutual funds, how does that client feel financially on a month-to-month basis? The answer is no different. They already didn't have the money. It was being taken by the IRS. We're taking it, but instead of giving the IRS an interest-free loan, we're putting it in interest-bearing or interest-saving instruments. So we're always better by the factor of the interest. The client feels the exact same. They already don't have the money. Yeah, everybody understanding that? The money's gone. They don't have it. They're still not going to have it. They're just going to become wealthy by doing the right thing with the money instead of letting the government take perpetual interest-free loans from them. Everybody following this? Does anybody have questions on that? Go ahead.
What happens when a client says, but I want that money to use this year because I have a plan for it? Even
Wonderful.
though they can't use it, really use it until later when they should.
Okay, great. So we're still going to put it back in your paycheck, and we're going to save it, and we're at least going to earn interest on it between now and then. If you want to save the money because you got a plan for it, that's fine. But you'd rather save it at interest than no interest, right? Okay, great.
Can raising the number of dependents raise their tax bracket?
It's not a dependent; it's a withholding.
Withholding?
Yeah.
Could that raise their tax bracket?
No.
Okay. Good
So he's asking, by putting more money back in their check,
Right.
does that change their tax bracket? The answer is no, because the tax bracket is off of the gross number.
Yep.
So you only have this much, and what's happening is this much is coming off and going to the IRS. So now this much is coming off and going to the IRS, but this number didn't change.
So, in this example, you're using household incomes of under 100,000, correct?
Yeah, above 100,000, each one is more than $50 because they're withholding percent. It's a, number one, it's a higher percentage, and number two, it's just of more money. 1% of 100 grand is more than 1% of 50 grand, right? So it might be $75 or $100. The most important thing you say is, Adam, listen, what we're going to do is we're going to put that money back to work for you. But it's going to be a little bit of trial and error. We might have to work on it for a month or two to see exactly where it is. Not an exact science. Okay? So you want to get in the ballpark that you're looking at. Okay? Does that make sense?
What do you say when they say they can't change their withholdings till?
That's not,
That's
that
not
they're
true.
ignorant.
I just did it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that you can change your withholding at any point you like.
As many times.
You can change your group benefits at any point you like. You can't necessarily get into them more than once a year, but at any point you can get out because they cannot mandate you to withhold money you don't want withheld from you. They cannot, it is illegal. You just walk, if an HR person tells your client they can't, that HR person is lazy. They don't want to file the paperwork. Right, so they're hoping this ignorant person believes what they say.
Yeah, now if someone's getting close to zero on not getting money back and they owe, generally there's a penalty that occurs because you're not paying quarterly, right?
Well,
Now,
if they're getting zero back, then we have nothing to work
well,
with
I'm
here.
saying like you say you hold and you pay at the end of the year, you know, April
Yep.
15th and stuff. I mean, don't you pay in penalties?
Nope, because you have to pay in what's called a safe harbor. This is a good talk for your accountant. You got to pay in 110% by January 15th of whatever you owed last year in federal income taxes. So it's different than a normal W-2 employee.
Okay.
Right? But I pay taxes 3 ways. I pay myself a salary out of my corporation.
Right.
I withhold taxes every month. Then I pay quarterly estimates, and then I pay the big boy on April 15th. Right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and you need to talk to a CPA about that, but this is not going to work for business people very well because they've already got an accountant like figuring out how to get them to hold their money for as long as possible. This is for employees.
I had a client that their form that their HR department gave them said, how many dependents do you have?
Yeah.
That's what it says.
And it didn't say how many would you like to withhold. So
Right,
is
but
there
it-
a specific
That's what it-
form that they should ask for?
That's the form they're looking for, but again, they're just calling it something different, right? So when you elect a withholding, what does that have to do with filing your taxes? The answer is nothing. You still have to file your taxes. All that form is doing is trying to help the government not let broke people have all their money because they don't trust them to have the money for taxes, right? So they take it from them. You understand? So those two things have nothing to do with each other.
So it's still, they fill out the W-2.
Whatever they want.
They just put in their.
Whatever number you guys decide upon is what you should have there. And it adjusts their withholdings up or down. But it's not filing taxes, it's a withholding.
Piggyback on her example, they say.
Louder, please.
Piggyback on her example, they say, we like that money, we wanna have it in a big lump sum at X amount of time, so what would you put it in then if they say that?
A municipal fund, a money market, something. But I'm gonna try to help them understand. I'm gonna say, Gina, what do you do with that money? Oh, I pay off bills. That's what most of them are gonna say if they have a plan. Okay, but so you've been charged interest all year, and then you pay off the bill. Why wouldn't we pay off the bill every month so we don't get charged interest? Right? Again, they're just not thinking. They have figured out a way to shortcut around the system, these people, right? Like they're trying to do the right thing, but they still just don't understand how it actually works.
So for a married couple, when you're doing this and they file their taxes jointly,
Mhm.
and they get the $6,000 back, who is the one that?
Doesn't matter.
It
You could
doesn't
do
matter?
some from both, you could do
Okay.
it like this, doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yep, doesn't matter who you adjust. Okay, so this concept is gonna save your clients enormous amounts of money. It's gonna help them build enormous amounts of wealth. Most of your clients have enough money sitting here to become debt-free about a decade early and have an extra $1 million in their retirement account. And all they have to forfeit for that is buying random bullcrap once a year. They don't remember what they bought the next year with it. Millionaire, buy random bullcrap. Millionaire, buy random bullcrap. You buy a lot more random bullcrap with $1 million than you can with your tax refund, right? Okay? So this is one of the concepts that you're gonna look at, okay? The second concept you need to understand when it comes to insurance here, okay? If you've already closed the life, right, you need to, when you're filling out what they have for insurance, you should start out as a blank slate. You shouldn't put what we've already done for them in life. You should put what they currently have if you're replacing, or if they have nothing, you should put what? Nothing. We don't want to put in, because if we put in what we already did for them and we're trying to replace it, it's going to jack up your numbers. Okay, does everybody understand? So start that with a blank slate. Okay, So here's what I recommend that you do. You're gonna need to keep a tally, because as sophisticated as this software is, it's gonna try to redistribute money about 100 different ways. So you need to keep a running tally of found money. Okay, so found money comes in 3 places. Okay, really 4 places. One is taxes, right? Money that they're getting refunded. The second would be current life insurance premiums that are not with us, right? That's money that they're gonna stop paying, we can redistribute in, okay? The third place you're gonna find money is overpayment of debt. Okay, so minimums are $100, they're paying $150. And you'll see as we go through this how that's set up, okay? So the way that this software looks at it, again, remember this pie, right?
Yeah.
Money here, money here, money here. It's just gonna pool it, and then we can redistribute it in the best manner for the client. Okay, is everybody following that? So that's the third place you're gonna find money. The fourth place you're gonna find money is in over contribution to retirement accounts that are not being matched. If they have a 401k and they're putting in 10%, but they're only being matched 5%, right? Then all they should be putting in there is 5%, the money that's getting matched, and the rest of that money needs to go into tax-free retirement savings like a Roth IRA. Okay, so again, hierarchy of investments: free money, tax-free money, tax later money. Everybody understand that? Free money is, I'm getting a match at my 401k. I put in, they give me free money. We go there till that's exhausted. Once free money is exhausted, tax-free money is better, right? Because 401k money is taxed later. I don't pay taxes now, but I gotta pay taxes later. Roth IRA money is tax-free when you take it out. There's no tax on the gain. So free money, tax-free money, tax later money, 1, 2, 3, in that order. So you're gonna meet all sorts of people putting in more money into their 401k than they're getting matched for. So you gotta back that money back out, put it in the pile, and be able to redistribute it. Right? Because if they can't put it tax-free, maybe it's best that money goes at the 34.99% interest credit card instead of going there and earning 6% in the interest stable interest fund they picked because their buddy in the cube next to them picked option blue, and that's what that's how they have built their financial plan. What are you picking? I'm picking blue. Oh, I'll pick blue too. What does blue mean? I don't know. I think it means safe, right? Okay. So this is what you're dealing with here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're like a surgeon. You're going in here and you're cutting out some of the stuff that don't make sense, and then you're reconstructing it into something beautiful. Okay. Does somebody have a question there?
We're able to talk about all this without the securities license, correct?
Absolutely. You cannot make investment recommendations.
Okay.
So what happens if you don't have a securities license and there's a securities opportunity on the FNA? You should bring that back to the office and take your upline. If your upline is not helpful to you, then go to somebody else that does have a securities license. Y'all good with that?
Yep.
Okay. Questions on this? There is a fifth place to find money, but it's not found money. It's a financial commitment. And I'm going to plug this bad boy in over here and run from over here. So there is a financial commitment that they can make. So after I take all the data, and again, I'm giving you like component pieces, and then we're going to put it all together on the screen. It's going to make a lot more sense, right?
Yeah.
But I want you to recognize the component piece when we get to it. Like, you talked about this. At the very end of all the data, before I show them what's happening, I'm going to ask them, I'm going to say, Roger, listen, the last question I want to ask you, obviously you told me, building your finances is super, super important to you. Roger, what do you feel like you could comfortably commit to investing into your future on a monthly basis to get out of debt faster, to save more money, to better protect your family? Roger, most of our clients will say somewhere between $100 and $300 a month. Some of our clients say even more than that. Roger, some of them say as little as $50 to $100 a month. What do you feel like you could comfortably put towards your financial future on a regular basis that's not gonna be an inhibitor to you. And I'm gonna get a commitment, and then I'm gonna cut his commitment in half. So you said 150, right? Okay, so why don't we do this? We're gonna start with 75, okay? And then we're gonna go from there, okay? So you're gonna need to keep a little paper with you so you can tally these things, right? He said 75, right? Okay, so I'm gonna create a tally, and what I'm gonna end up with, y'all, is I'm gonna end up with a little pile of extra money. And then I'm gonna go back in, I'm gonna divvy that money up in the way that it needs to go, and now I can show them real time, doing what you're doing now, here's your result. If we take this money that I found and we divvied up this way, it's the same exact money you're paying now, but here's the result. And so what I'm gonna show them is for net zero, no extra money, I'm gonna show them how to get out of debt way faster. I'm gonna show them how to save more money or more efficiently than they're saving. I'm gonna make sure their family's properly protected. It's going to cost them how much? Zero. Okay? Y'all understand? Okay, you good?
Yeah, when
Very
did we ask that one?
right at the very end.
Okay.
Right before I flip it around and show them what I got.
Okay.
Okay, everybody following that? Okay, so what I'm gonna tell the client is I'm gonna say, Daniel, listen, I need you to just get a scrap piece of paper because we're gonna do just some basic math here, you and I, right? And so what I'm doing is I'm writing down the extras, and at the end, I'm gonna have him write down the extra, and I'm gonna go line by line. All right, we're gonna take, so we got this much money. You see where it came from, Daniel, right? Okay, good. We're gonna put this much here. We're gonna put this much here. We're gonna put, and I'm gonna have him do the math. Because if he doesn't do the math, he thinks it's extra money, even though I just showed him where it came from. He needs to do the math with me so he understands where it came from. If he doesn't do the math 5 times, Jesus, just say, but I don't have that much money. Yes, you do. I just showed you. It's right here, right? Okay. Yes, it's your money. You have it. It's right there. Remember, I just. Oh yeah. Oh, but I don't have that much money to put. Yes, it's yours, right? So you're gonna make the list with him, right? Okay. Everybody following this so far? Okay. Awesome. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and do a dummy client. I don't know if anybody here has an extra charger that will sit with
It's a 10-foot
like
cord.
a battery, like a giant battery. I thought this was charging, but apparently not. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through and we're gonna do a needs analysis.
Harvey's got a 10-foot cord.
Or anybody at all that has the ability to get on here. I mean, that's fine.
Ian, Harvey's got a 10-foot cord. Will it reach?
You got a battery? Awesome. You got a battery, that's good. We'll start like this and we'll get going. Okay? So we're gonna go to Turbo Apps. We'll put in a client. His name will be Tweedledee. Okay?
I thought it was a dummy client. It should be Tweedledum.
We're gonna go to financial needs analysis. And so at this point, I'm talking to Mr. Client, Mr. D, right? And I'm talking to him about the commitments that we made. So remember, when I told you the last time, because we do this for free, I was gonna ask you for 2 things in return. Do you remember what those 2 things are? And he says, maybe. I said, remember, we're gonna do, right? If what I do for you is helpful, you can look at me and say, Ian, this was really good. I'm gonna ask you for what? 5 to 10 introductions to people that are married, have kids, have a home, and have an income that might benefit from what we do, right? Okay? And so, you're still okay with that, right? Yeah. Great. And if what I do is not better, you can look and say, hey, this is not better, it's more expensive, I already knew all this stuff, you don't need to give me referrals. You're still good with that, right? Yeah. Wonderful. Okay, the second thing that I'm gonna ask for, remember, Daniel, is this, that when I came back and I put together this plan, and it did help you get out of debt faster, it did help you better protect your family, it did help you save more or more efficiently, thank you. Anybody have a little cord here? A little charging cord, USB and charger,
Here.
we should be good.
Yeah.
Perfect. Look at that, you guys, super prepared.
Plug it in the green one and the turbo charge.
Wow, that sounds magical. That sounds magical.
Sounds like $1 million in luck or something.
Exactly. All right, so I'm getting the commitments, right? So there's nothing, you have no problem with that, right? I'm getting the yeses. So now I'm gonna ask him, as I start to fill out some of the data, say, Daniel, so let me ask you real quick, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being, I am totally broke, I'm about to be in bankruptcy, I have no money for anything, I'm behind on my bills. 10 being, I have millions and millions of dollars saved, I have no debt whatsoever, I'm completely financially independent. Daniel, where would you rate yourself on that scale of 1 to 10?
3.
Okay, so you're 3. Daniel, why did you say 3? Why not 2? Why not 5?
Credit card debt, mortgage, student loan.
Okay, awesome. And so what do you think you would need to change for you to say confidently, I'm a 5?
Probably
would
cut
need to
back on
change for you?
expenses, like you were saying earlier.
Okay, so I want to find out what he thinks he is, and I'm going to ask him what would need to change for you to be a this or a this. And so I want to see how he thinks. So he just told me cut back on expenses. That's not going to help him, right? Okay,
Right.
so I want to understand where he thinks. Normally it's going to be something like, it's charging you. I need to save more money. I need to pay off my debt. They're going to say something like that. And so I'm going to say, so obviously improving your financial situation is important to you, right, Daniel? Of course it is, right? So I'm super excited to go through this with you because literally in like 20 minutes, 30 minutes tops, I'm going to be able to show you some ways to drastically pay off your debt faster. We're going to better protect your family. I'm going to help you save so much more money than you ever thought, right? So you are making just an awesome choice going through this. I'm excited to go through it with you. Excited about it?
Yes.
Awesome, very good. So I'm gonna get their birthday right. I'm small talking. You need to master the art of talking to them about things that interest them while you input data.
Yep.
Don't just sit there and tell, what's your birthday? What's this? Right? So Lance, listen, man, what do you like doing for fun? Great. Do you get to do that as often as you want, right? Okay, why do you think you don't do more of it? And I'm gonna start getting him to expose the nightmare to me, right, about his job so I can come back around the back end and recruit him on the end of it. And I'm listening, I'm filling out data, right? So we're gonna pick a birthday, right? Random birthday. Say they're in the 70s, right? Okay, 1975. He's got his spouse, Tweedledee and Tweedledum, right? Okay. Mrs. D, right? Okay. Mrs. D's an older woman. Okay. And we'll have one child, Humpty Dumpty. Right? Hugh Morton. Okay. So we're gonna input all the data, makes sense, right? Pretty basic. First place we're going is income.
Child one last name.
Okay, please enter the last name, D. What don't you understand about this, right? Okay, income. Yes. What other screens? Sure. Yeah, better see if you could grab that, that'd be awesome. So, Mr. Client, what do you make right now annually, right? And so he's gonna tell me I make $60,000. So his gross income monthly is $5,000 a month, right? And then, Mr. Client, you have any other income on the side? Do you sell drugs? Do you do anything like that? They always laugh. Most of them say no. So I don't care what their monthly income taxes are. Makes no difference to me. I don't care who their employer is. Makes no difference to me. Okay, so she's working outside of the house. Let's say she's making the same thing. She's making $5,000 a month. Okay? Here's the next question. Mr. and Mrs. Client, do you guys normally receive an income tax refund? Yes. Great. How much do you get? $5,000. Okay, great. Can you get a piece of paper for me real quick, Amy? Because I want to give you a note and we're going to make our first adjustment right now. Right on page 1. So I want you to write this number down, 5,000, write tax refund next to it. Amy, do you know what a tax refund is? And they might say something remotely right. Okay, say, well, what you're doing is you're having money withheld from you every week or however often you get paid, right? And then you file your taxes, and then the government says, oops, you paid us too much, here's your money back, right? Okay? The problem with that, Amy, is how much interest did the government pay you? None, right? So you've given the government an interest-free loan all year. But by the time you get that money back, Amy, what's already happening this year? You're doing it again. over and over, do you like making interest-free loans to the government? Do you feel like the government really needs to take all that money from you? No, right? You would do better with the money from you, right? So watch this. So you said 5,000, right? Okay. So y'all need to keep track of this. So we're gonna keep track on your scratch sheet, okay? So Amy, here's what we're gonna do. What's happening is they're taking $5,000 too much from you and then giving it back. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take half that money, Amy, and we're gonna put it back in your paycheck. So we're gonna take $2,500 a year. It's about $200 a month. So Amy, I want you to write down $200, okay? And on my scratch sheet of paper, here's what I'm writing. So how we're gonna do that, Amy, right, is we're gonna go into work tomorrow, and we're gonna talk to HR, and we're gonna up the number of withholding that we're claiming by 4. That should put $200 a month back in your paycheck. Now we're gonna need to watch that for a month. If it's less, we need to up it again. If it's too much, we need to bring it down a little bit. It's not gonna be exact, but that's about where we're gonna be. Now, I want you to understand what's gonna happen. So if they let you keep $200 a month, more money, right? You're still gonna get a refund, but you're only gonna get half. That makes sense? But every month, Amy, now we can use this money and we can use it to pay off debt. We can use it to get ahead. We can use it to have an interest-bearing retirement account instead of interest-free. Do you understand that? Okay, so that's number 1. So write down number 1, $200 a month next to it, taxes. You good with that? If they're not good with that, I'm gonna go back and forth with them and overcome that objection to get that money.
How do they find out how many withholdings they have right
They just
now?
ask, what am I currently having deducted right now? What am I claiming on this form? 2, okay, great, let's put it to 6.
Okay.
Yeah, their HR person knows, they've got a filing.
What if they say that they're at a point in their lives where possibly because maybe if they're gonna lose like a dependent or something in the next year?
Yeah, so sometimes you get people that are like, oh, I'm gonna have this change or that change. You say, well, so it's what now, March? And we've already paid in January, February, and March wrong. We're only reducing this by half, but it's not even really half this year because you've already paid in a bunch wrong, right? So what we're gonna do, Lance, we're still gonna take this money, and let's say we only get a $1,000 refund instead of the $2,500. That would have been the difference that made, right? But we're still gonna do it. We just might do a little less than if that makes you more comfortable. Yeah, what if a dependent changes? There's virtually nothing they could do with one thing changing that would make that big of a difference. Somebody else had a question.
If they're getting little back, say $1,000.
They're getting $1,000 back.
still-
I'm still gonna cut it in half because I
Okay.
want that $50.
Right.
Right? I can give them a couple $100,000 at retirement with that $50. Right? So I want half of whatever's there, unless it's stupid. If it's like, oh yeah, I get $500 back.
Right.
Now you're playing on a margin that could go either way. I'm not going to chance that. But nobody's getting that. Like 95% of people are getting thousands and thousands back. So I made a note. I had them make a note. I had them write it down. Everybody understand that? Okay. I do not put the money in here because the system's going to try to account for it. I want to account for it. So I made a note. As sophisticated as this is, it's too sophisticated in a couple of these areas, and it starts divvying it up all over the place, and I gotta go find it, right? So, now I'm gonna go to the Saving for Retirement tab. So Lance, I'm gonna ask you some questions about saving retirement things. Before I do, I have one real important question to ask you. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not important, 10 being extremely important, how important would you say that it is that at some point you can retire comfortably, you can have dignity during your older years? Okay, so it's pretty important to you, right? Okay, great. Let me ask you some information. Okay, so the first question I'm going to ask you, Lance, is at what age do you want to be able to not have to work for money anymore? Notice how I phrase that. I don't say what age do you want to retire, because you'll meet people like, I don't want to retire. I like what I do. That's fine. Right? You keep doing it. What age do you want to not have to work for money anymore? And Lance, if you say tomorrow, you better have a couple of $1 million saved right now, okay? So at what age would you like to do that? And I have them give me an age. If you see blurred out here, the computer is going to, based on their birthday, give them their current Social Security retirement date. Okay, but we can let them choose. So Lance chooses a different age. He says, I want to retire at 62. Okay? So these numbers are all make-believe, right? This person doesn't, y'all follow me,
Yeah.
Tweedledee and Tweedledee, they don't exist, right? Okay? But the purpose is so you see how to do it in the result, okay? And so we're going to leave, we'll put Mrs. D here at 62 as well, okay? So the next question I have for you, Lance, is how old do you think is the oldest you could possibly live to be? Does longevity run in your family at all? What do we see kind of there? And I wait for them to answer, right? Because this number they give me is going to be the outside data point of how long they're going to need money for. So we should probably err on longer, right? Because there's no problem with being dead and having too much money left, but there is a problem with still being alive and having no money left, right? And being 90 and not being able to earn money. So I'm gonna, if he says 75 and he ain't sitting there smoking 5 cigarettes while I'm sitting there with him, I'm gonna coach him on like, hey, look, this is average life expectancy, but based on the income and the birthday, the computer knows how old they're gonna live to be. You see that? Oh, where is it? Right there.
Based
Oh,
on the
it's blocked out there. Huh?
84.
Yeah, 84 and 86. So if they don't want to give you a date, based on the U.S. Census Bureau, this is how old they're going to be. Okay? So we'll just go ahead and leave it for all practical intents and purposes. So now I'm going to ask him the next question. I'm going to say, Lance, how much money per month? So let's pretend like you're 62 years old today. I don't want you to worry about inflation. We're going to figure that out. How much per month do you feel like you're going to need during retirement to be able to do all the things you'd like to do? Do you feel like, listen, do you feel like you would need more than you have now? That you could be okay on less than you have now? Or do you feel like you would want basically what you have now? I'm asking them more or less or the same, not a specific number. Because otherwise what's going to happen is this guy's going to start trying, well, I'm not going to have a house. And here's what they're going to think, right, I'm not probably going to have a house payment anymore. I'm not going to have any kids. That's probably true. Here's what they're not going to factor in. My health insurance will cost what my mortgage did. And I'll have 22 grandkids that will cost more than my children did. Right? Right, Grandma? Okay? Okay. But so rather than me getting in a philosophical debate with the client about what they're actually going to need, more or less are the same. Most of them will say the same or a little bit more. Some people will say less. Okay? If they don't pick, the computer's going to default to 80%, which is what the state of Michigan Social Security Administration sends you in a letter every year, says you should plan on having no less than this or you're going to be poor, right? So let's say they said they want 100% of the current income. So what the software is going to do is going to look at inflation factors, all sorts of crap, and it's going to look at the length of time they're going to need the money. It's going to run this calculation that you and I would never be able to do. That's going to show them how much real money they're going to need over that period of time, okay? We don't need to worry about that. We're just putting numbers in, okay? So, I don't ask these two questions, but you can.
My question is, if they say more,
Say
and
more.
You're not talking about
How
dollars,
much more?
How much more? Right.
Do you feel like 1,000 or a couple thousand a month would be good? What do you think? How much more than you have now? They'll know if they know more. They're money conscious. They'll be able to give you. They'll be able to give you something.
A ballpark. Okay.
Yeah, give me a ballpark, right?
Okay.
Okay. I don't ask these. They're irrelevant to me, right? Are you going to make income during retirement? Who knows? You're not there yet, so I'm not going to plan on it. Do you want to leave money to your heirs? That's a good question, but the truth is, most people ain't going to have enough life insurance to take care of the people that are dependent on them, let alone people coming after them, right? Okay. So I'm done with this page. Everybody follow that?
Yep.
So what am I doing? I'm asking questions, right? Because when they say it, it's what? 100% true. When I say it, they doubt every word. So I'm not going to challenge what they're telling me unless it's really dumb, right? Okay? So I'm going to go back up here. I'm going to go and start getting data about what they have. So, Mr. and Mrs. Client, do you want to include Social Security in your retirement calculation? Shake your head like this. Okay, you're very, very smart. If they're under 40, The answer is no. If they're above 40, the answer is maybe. Okay? So if they're 55, I'm gonna go ahead and let it count. Okay? If it's under 40, I'm gonna hit no. So include in Social Security benefits, right? These guys are around 40, I'm gonna say no. So I'm gonna say, Amy, listen, if you get it, it's gonna be a bonus, but we're not gonna plan on it. Okay? Right? Do either of you have any form of a pension? Most of the time, the answer is going to be no. If they do, let me show you what we're gonna do. Right, so he's got a pension, he's gonna get $1,500 a month at retirement. Done. Right, and the software will factor all this in, all these moving pieces, and it will, here's what you need to do. You had a question, and then Gina, you had a question? Yep, I would include it. If they're 50 or older, I'd let them keep that in there. Okay, so let's go and find out what they have. Oh, go ahead, Gina.
What if they don't know how much their pension is?
Do you have a guess? Is it $1,000 a month? Is it $5,000 a month? I mean, they have a ballpark. If they have no idea how much their pension is, guess how much their pension is? Very little.
Very little.
Right? I mean, if this is how you're going to live and you don't know what it is, you have no clue, it's very, very small. I promise you. Yeah.
It's not even guaranteed either.
Well, it depends. A pension is guaranteed by the pension provider, which is, I mean, right? You read newspaper articles, you see stuff. They're not guaranteed, right? The big three just renegotiated all their pensions because they don't have money. Okay, so they are guaranteed as long as the pension fund remains solvent, which is about 0% of the time these days, right? Because people were living a lot shorter when these people funded into it, right? They weren't living 35 years in retirement, right? Yeah. So, Lance, you guys have any current 401ks, any old 401ks? So he's got 80,000 saved. She's got 30,000 saved. Okay, and are any of these savings from a previous employer? Yes. What does that mean? Rollover. What if they're not from a previous employer? You should always get the statements and bring them to the office because they can do sometimes what's called an in-service transfer, where they can move out of the 401k, even though they're a part of it, into an IRA, which virtually always is better for the client. They have more choice, they have more control, they have lower costs, generally ongoing, because not in a 401k, it's generally a great option. They have investment options outside in their own account. They can't even get in a 401k because they don't offer them in 401ks. So if there's money, get statements, bring them to the office, okay? Have you rolled it into a personal account yet? Yes, no, irrelevant to me. It's the same, okay? Do you contribute monthly? Yeah, I'm contributing right now 6% of my income, whatever that is. So let's call it $400 a month. And the employer is matching up to 3% dollar for dollar. So the employer is putting in 300, right? Or I'm sorry, 200, right? So here's where I'm gonna say, Lance, you got your piece of paper, right, that we wrote taxes? The second thing we're gonna write down right here. I want you to write down $200 a month, 401k, okay, and I'm going to explain this to you here. So right now, if you put in 200, they put in 200, right? If you put in 400, they put in 200. If you put in 800, they put in 200. So Lance, the rule of thumb is we put into our employer plan only what we get matched on. And above that, we're going to put somewhere else that's going to be more tax advantageous to you or potentially might save you a bunch of interest. I'm not exactly sure what we're going to want to do with it, but I can tell you it's not wise there. Okay? That makes sense to you? So free money is good, but if we're not getting free money, we might want to pay off a high interest card with it. We might want to put it in the same investment, but in a tax-free place instead of tax later. Do you understand what I'm saying to you there? Wonderful. So you got that written down? I've got it written down. How much money I got right now to play with? 400 bucks. That's where? Already there. It's going where? Taxes, going to 401k. It might go back to 401k. But I don't know that yet, so I'm getting the pieces of the money and I'm piling them up. Everybody understand that? Okay, very good. I think there was a couple questions. Bob?
So I had someone say that they're contributing their max amount to their 401k to get the tax advantages.
That's wonderful.
To get the their adjusted gross income down.
That's wonderful. So they could do the same thing through an IRA potentially, if there's two of them, right? I mean, keep the match, split to IRAs, and generally, right, if you make under 180, I think that the limit's now 188,000 adjusted gross. If you make under that, you're statistically better off in a Roth IRA than you are taking the deduction on a pre-tax. Okay, so I'm going back to my number here, right? So let's say she's saving 100 a month. They're matching her 100 a month. Are we going to do anything with hers?
No.
Why?
Free money.
Free money. Folks, there is no better rate of return than 100% guaranteed every year, right? Okay, free money is free money. We're going to take that. You guys have any non-retirement assets, any property anywhere? Did your grandmother leave you an estate in England? Like, right? The answer here is virtually always no, but sometimes there's something out there. I want to know about that, right? Okay, so
Which line was that?
it was just at the bottom. You have any non-retirement assets, okay? You can calculate this right now, but it's irrelevant to me to calculate it. I'm going to leave the results till I come back, okay? So I'm just moving along left to right on the tab. So now I'm going to go to debt. Okay, so Adam, I'm going to give some information now about your debt, but I've got another question I want to ask you. Scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not important, 10 being extremely important. How important is it to you that you become debt-free as fast as possible? It's like like an 11 probably, right? Okay, very good. Again, I'm just getting these little commitments, so when he starts saying, well, I don't want to do this part of it, I'm like, Adam, remember when you said this 5 minutes ago? Oh yeah, right, okay. I'm going to remind him of what he said. You had a question.
Yeah, on the last one where you said any non-retirement assets, so they say they have an estate in England, do you put in like the value of that?
Yep.
You do, okay.
Why? If they own it and it's net free, right? There's asset there. I don't have to create that in their retirement fund. I also don't have to insure against it. Right? This software is incredibly sophisticated. It's going to think through every which way from Sunday, 1,000 scenarios you'd never comprehend, and it's going to do it without you having any idea it's doing it. It's going to pull assets from all over the place, and it's going to pull it out of insurance numbers because we don't need to insure money we already have, right? We also don't need to save money we already have. So it's looking at all these data points and saying, here's a human being, boom, here's what you do, right? It's very, very sophisticated, too sophisticated if you get into all the crap you have the ability to do here, right? Okay.
Quick question.
Go ahead.
I think you said it, but when he's over contributing,
Yep.
what do you put down? Do you put down only the part that's matching and not put down everything that he's putting in there?
Right. So yeah. So what I do? Yeah. So let's go back here. So you're asking, do I put? I'm going to put in what's already there. Right.
Okay.
So he is. Right. So he's over contributing. So I'm going to put in what he's contributing.
Okay.
Because what I want the computer's going to do here, it's going to show him, here's what you're doing now. Good, bad, and ugly. If we don't change anything, we just leave it all the same, here's what the result of that. You understand?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go back to debt.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay, no problem. So I've got the 1 to 10 question. So I've got his mortgage, right? Let's call it Citizens. Owes $190,000 on it. Okay. Principal and interest. So this is important here when you're looking at debt. A mortgage payment generally has what in it? Principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Are taxes and insurance debt? When you pay off the mortgage, will you still have them? Yes. So you need to separate these. How do you do that? Read the statement. It'll always show you a breakdown, principal and interest. So let's say the monthly payment is $1,800 a month.
You only got 19,000 in there.
Oh. That's fine, thank you.
You're welcome.
So let's say it's $1,350 a month, okay? Property taxes and insurance get picked up where? Right there. So let's say property taxes are $300 a month, and homeowners insurance is $100 a month. By the way, this is completely irrelevant. You don't even need to enter the property tax and insurance. All you need to do is make sure you didn't enter them as part of the principal and interest payment, right? Okay. Interest rate, let's say they're at 4 1/4. Okay. So they have a second mortgage, you can add it. All right. So home value here, you should put in. Why? Because it's going to calculate into their net worth. Okay.
You didn't ask for PMI, is there a reason you don't put it in?
Well, a lot of people don't have PMI, but again, it's totally irrelevant. I don't care about your PMI. There's nothing we can do to stop your PMI, and it's not part of, huh?
It's going to affect principal.
No, it's not, because the principal this is just the principal and interest.
Okay, you're separating it, got it?
Yep. That's just principal and interest. Danielle.
So if they have like houses that they own but they rent them out, would you put them in the assets or would you put them in the debt?
Both. So I'm going to add a mortgage, and every time I add a mortgage, I'm going to have the ability to put the market value and the debt. So what's going to constantly do is update a balance sheet. You got this much total debt against all this stuff, and then you have this much net worth in all of it. Yeah. So, yep, you should always add all their stuff in.
I'm a PMI, and we just did one, and it turns out he was paying PMI, but when we took his home value and his balance.
Yeah, he owed less than 80%. He didn't have to pay it
He
anymore.
should have had to pay it, so we just had to-
So yeah, so you might be able to, you might be able to find money there, right? Because PMI is only required on loan to value that is above 80% loan to value.
Is it, can you not collaterally assign a portion of your life insurance to the PMI?
I don't know why you would. It doesn't make, yeah, I don't know why you would. It's because you're paying a premium one way or the other. Yeah. And private mortgage insurance is not, that would only pay on a default because of death. PMI is gonna insure the lender against any form of default.
Yeah, for 78%, so you drop automatically.
Yep. All right, so consumer debt. Oh, go ahead.
I just bought a house in July and they're on PMI for the rest of the loan.
That's exactly what she just asked.
Do you put their rent
Yep.
as other income?
Yep. So remember that. Do you have any other sorts of income? Yes, I have rental income. Boom. So that picks up on income, and we pick up the outflow on a debt expenditure. Again, all this crap's happening for you. You don't need to know any of it. It's just there, right?
So put gross for income and then the debts, like.
Right, so let's talk about cars. So they got, let's call it car one, current balance is $9,200. Minimum payment, I pay $250. Okay, but what's the actual minimum payment? Well, the minimum payment's $242. You need to figure out exact. So $242, they're paying an extra $8 a month to it. The interest rate's 5. Is it revolving? No. Okay, revolving interest are two sorts of things: credit cards and home equity lines of credit. Everything else generally is fixed, which means it's already pre-amortized out. It's an installment loan. Okay, why? Because how it pays back is really important. Your client has no idea what the difference is, but how it repays is extremely important. Okay? Student loans, same thing. So let's add a student loan. So these guys are 40, they still got student loans, huh? They must have got an art degree.
Easy there.
That one pinched a nerve with MEC.
But dang, our office looks good.
They're paying $191. Let's say they're paying $30 extra a month. Their interest rate is 2.9, right? Fixed again, right? And let's say they've got a Visa with a Lisa, apparently. It's all right, no big deal. $4,300.
Yep.
Minimum payments $72, but they're rounding up every month, right? So they're paying $100, which means let's say they're paying $28 extra. Okay. So great, listen, sometimes people are not gonna pay extra, that's okay, right? So I ask them, what's the minimum required payment? Great, what are you paying towards it? Sometimes they say the same, no problem. So minimum payment's 72, what are you paying towards it? Okay, paying 100.
And a lot of times it varies, right?
Great, what would you say on average you pay? What's the least amount you pay towards on a regular basis? Okay, so that one's revolving. So let's add another debt. What if you meet people that aren't paying the debts? Do you include them on here? No. Because if they're not paying it, and you try to account for it, but you don't have payments, then the system doesn't understand that.
Right.
Okay? So you put 0.
They're still paying on it.
If they're still servicing the debt,
What if it's like 3% for like the next 5 months?
and then it's a variable rate after that?
It's like, oh, you gotta,
Yeah, you got an introductory rate, you put what it is now. You put what it is now.
So, I mean, the number one not paying the debt is generally student loans. People defer them constantly.
Yep, so you don't
And
account for them in here
You don't
yet.
account for them in here, but the whole point is to be, we're trying to help them pay it off, right? So at
Correct.
some point, do we?
At some point, yeah, at some point when they begin paying it, we'll redo this for them. Like I'll redo, I always tell a client, like, hey, look, if something changes, call me, I can just rerun, because it knows where you should be. And I can, in 2 seconds, 5 years from now, I can go in and update this. It's pretty simple.
or you can put it in and just not include any debt.
Correct. You can put them in and then you can pop them out. And so we know they're there, but we're not going to include them in the process here. Make sense?
Yeah, and I had one student loan that confused the system because their student loan rate was at a lower rate than the computer thought that they should.
So
pay.
no, so didn't confuse the system. Your client is confused.
No,
So
we looked at the actual.
yeah.
loan payment.
So what this is going to do from time to time is going to say based on the principal balance and the interest rate you've given us, the payment mathematically cannot be less than this. So something is awry in the data you've gotten because it's not possible based on a balance and an interest rate for a payment to be less than a certain amount depending on what the debt is.
If that was a student loan debt,
Part of it could have been in
We're just paying
deferral.
interest on it, yeah.
You could have been paying interest only. It could have been pieces of it at different, it's all sorts of stuff.
They have 5 student loans,
One by one.
one by one, right? Even though they're paying it all.
Yep.
Even though they're paying it all together, you want to, listen, debt, you want to itemize as effectively as possible. Why? Because debt stacking works the optimal way with individually accounted for debts. Okay?
And then how do they pay that? Because how do they pay them individually like that?
You want me to answer that?
Sure.
Yeah, they have to call the company or go on Navient or whoever they're through and pay them individually
Yeah.
like that and
Okay.
account for them differently. And you can set up to be auto paid, but they have to specifically say I want $100 here, $50 here, $20 here monthly,
Okay.
and then they can do that.
Thank you for saving.
You're
You have a
welcome.
Home Depot card?
Ian, if they've got
Depot
4 student loans within one student loan.
That's the
so
question
they're
that was
doing
just
one
asked, I
payment,
think.
Right, they're doing one payment. Do you break up that one
Yes.
payment
Yes.
amongst all of them equally?
Yeah,
then?
no. Normally it'll show the component pieces. Yep, if it doesn't, I would break them up equally.
Okay.
So these are getting like very, very specific, like,
Yep.
so we could sit here all day and we could talk about, I had a guy who did this one. So let me get through showing you the 99%, right? And then we'll work on the 1% if we have time, right? Everybody good with that?
Yeah.
So you can ask the question, but if I say, let's move along, that's what we're looking for. Go ahead, Aristida.
3 out of 10 times I find one more debt that most people forget. I ask them if they have promissory notes out there.
Sure. You have anything? So exactly. So any other debt, Aristida, you owe your mom and dad anything? You owe Art Van anything? You'd be surprised at what people don't think are debts. Oh yeah, I owe all this stuff, all these people, right? I owe Sale from the river. You know, downtown I owe him a little gambling debt, right? Okay. So
If they're not paying on their student loans yet, or they're in deferral, we're not including that in the.
not including it. Because if it's not consuming cash, it's not real to them right now. It's a liability, but it's not affecting their current financial situation, right? Okay, so I'm just putting in here a bunch of dummy data, right? Okay. So watch how this is accounting for this, right? So look, so it's gonna have balance, payments, right?
Yep.
And so it's gonna happen, it's totaling them, right?
Yep.
So there's the consumer debt total, the required minimum monthly payments, the overage that they're paying. Do you see that? It's because we're accounting
Yeah.
for it. The average weighted interest rate. None of this is important except for this, 241. So Mr. and Mrs. Lance, I want you to get your paper out again, and I'm just gonna flip this around and show it to you real quick. Right now, you're paying $1,098 a month as required. You're actually paying $241 a month extra to the debt, a little here, a little there, a little here. So I want you to write down on your paper, number 3, $241 a month overpayment to debt. Okay? And I'm gonna keep track of this on my paper too. Yes. I can't understand a word you're saying. Please speak up.
With the home value, you have it at 24,000 as opposed to 240,000.
Oh, so I just missed a 0. Okay, that's fine. So again, I'm keeping track here. I'm having the client keep track so the client knows where the money's coming from. Right, so let me go and, he must have bought a house in the city of Detroit.
Hey, watch.
Hey, watch it. Okay, it's coming back, right?
All right,
It is coming back. Okay, so all debts, total payments, total minimum payments, weighted interest rate. Okay? So, and I'm going to show this to them. So I make sure they understand, they see you're paying this much extra, it's going like this. Are you in agreement with that? Yes. Perfect. So now I can go to results. I'm not going to go to results right now. Okay? I'm not going to show them the result, but I can go to result. Okay? Now I'm going to finish the data intake. I'm done with data intake after this. Okay? So, Patricia, I'm going to get some information on some of your insurance, okay? But really quickly, again, on a scale 1 to 10, 1 being not important to you, 10 being extremely important, how important would you say that it is to you that your family would be well taken care of if you were to pass away prematurely?
10.
Okay, very good. I just want to get that buy-in so when I'm making recommendations, they're like, hey, this was important, this is important. Okay, so remember, if we already closed the life, which we probably have, are we putting the Primerica data in here?
No.
No. If they had nothing, we're going to put nothing in here. If they have policies that we're replacing, we're putting the policies that we're replacing in. So let's say he has a $500,000 term policy, okay? She's got $250,000, and they're paying $55,000 on him and $27,000 on her, nothing on the kids, okay? So now I can go to the tab, and you're gonna see here, it's porting in all the assets, right? Porting in the assets. Now I'm gonna have the needs. I'm gonna say, Patricia, listen, let me ask you a question. If, God forbid, and I probably know the answer to this already because I'm watching what the numbers are looking like, if something were to happen to you, how much of your monthly income would so-and-so need on a monthly basis to maintain the current standard of living? Most people say what?
Of it.
All of it. Okay, so I'm gonna leave 100%. It's gonna default at 100% for 15 years. You can change this, just leave it, okay? And now what it's gonna give you the option to do is immediate cash needs. Let's pay off some of this stuff, right? Let's pay it all off. And now it'll pull into the calculation, say, all right, let me give you $5,000 a month and let me get you out of all this stuff. It'll do it all for you, okay? I don't bother with medical questions here, it doesn't matter to me, okay? And I'm gonna go to results. Let me give you a tidbit. Huh?
As long as they're not in red, they're not required.
Correct. Okay, so let me give you a little tidbit here that's gonna save you a lot of heartache when you're presenting to clients. The way this is set up to calculate, it will always show you a standard rating. So if your client you think might be eligible for preferred or preferred plus, you're gonna have to go in and change that. And it's always gonna show you the longest available term. So it's gonna show you a standard rate at the longest available term, so generally it's gonna be redonkulous expensive. So if you just show that to the client's gonna go, so you need, before you show it to them, you need to go in, right? And so it's gonna show you, right, he needs $925, she needs $975. Why? We wanted $5,000 a month for 15 years. That's this much $679 for both of them. We wanted to pay off all the debt, fund the kids' education, right? And then we are able to subtract out their assets. We don't need to insure for it if it's already there, right? So it's coming to $925 on him, $975 on her. That's an accurate number based on what they said. Remember, this data is what they said, not what I said, but they said. Okay, so now watch what's happening here. They're paying $82 a month for this now, but look at how stupid this is. Well, why is it so much more expensive? Because it's calculating all sorts of weird bull crap, right? So what you do is you can go to the Get a Quote tool. So quote other amount, and I just do this while I'm talking. See how it's at $975, right, or 35 year? So let's say that term that they had is up in 8 years, okay? And he's a preferred plus, she's a preferred, right? So if it's up in 8 years, the most accurate comparison would be a 10, okay? So I can go in and I can show them this. So he needs, what, 925 and she was 975, or other way around?
That's correct.
Okay. So now I can calculate it. So it's still more than they're paying. Why? Because it's almost triple the amount of coverage, right? So now I'm going to save it and watch what will happen here. Now it will give me another choice. Okay, you understand? So I'm not even going to show them the middle one. When I go to show it to them, I'm just going to, boom, show them this. Okay? So I'm going to write down this number right now, but I'm not going to have them write it down. How much money's going there? $135.12, right? So back on my sheet, that's not what I'm looking for. Back on my sheet here, I'm going to write down $135.12 life insurance. I'm just going to keep a note of it. Okay? Found everybody good with that?
Yeah.
Your commitment and program.
You know, we assume we've already sold them, like?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm assuming that.
Doesn't matter if we already sold them.
Doesn't matter what we sold them, because we probably sold them 500 and 250 because that's what they had.
But you just flip them back to a 10.
But I just, well, I did whatever so let's say you already sold them a 20 year. Well, then I would go in and calculate on a 20 or whatever it is you want to do, I would build around that, right? Mr. and Mrs. Client, one last question before I show this to you. I'm really excited because we're going to make, based on what I've seen so far, we're going to make such a difference for you. It's going to be incredible. What do you feel like you could comfortably commit to on a monthly basis investing into your financial well-being? Most of our clients, Jeff, say somewhere between $100 and $300 a month. Some people say more than that. Some people say as little as $50 to $100 a month. Jeff, where do you feel like you could comfortably be every month where you're like, man, I'm not going to miss it. I want to start doing the right things with my money. I want to get this in control moving forward. 250. All right. So Jeff, what I'm going to do in my experience is we're going to start with half of that. I don't want you to start this plan and 3 months from now be like, because if we stop the plan didn't help you, right? Okay, so let's do 125. So Jeff, I need you to write down number 4 on your sheet of paper. I want you to write down my commitment 125. Okay?
Are you asking them in addition to all the
In addition. Yeah, this is found money. This is new money. So I'm asking you, in addition, what are we doing here, right? In addition, what do we got? So he says 125. Okay, so I'm gonna say, Jeff, do me a favor real quick. I want you to total up all those numbers for me. And I'm gonna total them up. So we got 200 from taxes, you got that written down, right? We got 200 from the over contribution of the 401, right? We've got 241 going extra to debt, right? And we got 125 a month that you said you could put towards this, right? Okay, what is that total?
762.
How much?
766.
766 a month. So Jeff, what I've done is I've found $766 a month that doesn't have to go where it's going, right? It's not required to go there. it's probably not doing the best thing for us. So, but that's not new money, right? You see where that came from, right? Not new money, it's the same money you already have. It's not new money you gotta come up with, right? Even the 125 is money you have somewhere. It's going into a savings account, it's sitting, right? This is money you have, it's not new in the system, it's already in the system, right? Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you what you're doing with it now, and I'm gonna show you what I recommend you do with it, and you're gonna be stunned when you see how big of a difference this is, okay? And so we're gonna keep our pen and paper, and I'm gonna help you identify this, all right? So I just need you to give me like 2 or 3 minutes, Jeff, because I need to just run some real quick calculations here, and then I'm gonna show that to you. So if you need to do something real quick or whatever, you go ahead and pop up, or you know, just watch me, but I'm gonna be busy for just a minute, okay? So now watch what I'm doing here. So on my sheet of paper, here's what I got. So let me get a new clean one. So I got $766 a month, right? I know I'm gonna have $131.12 on life insurance, right? Which leaves me how much money? Somebody do that calculation. Huh?
$629.88. Oh, wait.
No.
135.12.
Oh, okay. Yep, $629.88, right? So I'm back here. I've done your commitment. I'm not putting the money in here. If I put it in here, the thing's gonna try to use it, right? Okay. So I'm gonna go to your program, and it's gonna come up with a house that's a gazillion things and red numbers and black numbers. It's totally pointless. Okay. See all this stuff, right? Okay. So watch this. Customize the financial house. I clicked on customize the financial house. Clear all, save. And what it's going to do is it's going to give me what? Debt, insurance, and investments.
Wait, what?
Doesn't that look nice?
Yeah.
Doesn't that look better than a 23-story house?
Yeah.
It's gonna show them bizarre red and green numbers. I don't even care. I'm not even gonna show that to them. I'm gonna show them this.
So how did you do that?
Customize the financial house.
Let me go
That
back.
part I got.
Let me go back. So let's go to commitments.
Clear all the same.
I have a question.
Your program. Okay, let me get to that in a second. Let me show you. Okay, so your program, customize the financial house, clear all, save. And it will take all those tabs we did nothing with that are irrelevant to that consumer's outcome, okay? And it's going to give me a nice, clear, consistent looking house. Okay? So now, watch what's gonna happen here. There's an error sitting here. I just caught it, okay? What was it?
The insurance.
The insurance, it picked the wrong program. It defaulted. So before you turn it around, you better look at it real fast and make sure it makes some sense. Boom, right? Now I'm gonna go back. Okay? So, Mr. and Mrs. Client, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you what you're doing right now, and I'm gonna show you how we can improve on it, okay? But I want you to understand the concept of financial house really quickly. There's a right way and a wrong way to build your finances, kind of like building a house. So Jeff, if you were to put up the drywall before you did the electrical, it'd be a very ugly house, right? There'd be wires everywhere, it'd be very dangerous. There's an order in which you kind of idiot-proof yourself. It's the same thing with your finances, okay? The foundation of that house, let me flip it around, is your life insurance, right? If you're not alive to make money, right? All we have left to navigate the entire rest of our family's financial life is what we do here. So it needs to be done right, Jeff. It needs to be done as inexpensively as possible, okay? After that, we can start doing, do we pay off debt? Do we save more money, okay? Does that make sense to you? Okay, so let me show you where you are right now, okay? So right now, you have 500,000, right, okay? And 250, so you're grossly underinsured here. This is where you stand. You're paying $82 a month for that, and your terms are up in 8 years like I showed you, right? Okay? So now, this is what you need to have based on what you said. Now that's quite a bit more coverage than you have now, right? And here's why. You said I wanted to make sure I had all the money for a period of time. That's the $679. We paid off your house, we paid off all your debt, we put money aside for the kids' school, we paid final expenses, This is the money you have in your 401ks, so we don't need to insure. See how it comes out? So mathematically, this is the exact amount of money you and Jasmine need to be not better off, not worse off, but the same, right? Does that make sense? Okay. Real quick, let's go back. There's another error here. What's the error? What didn't we account for? The $82 they're already spending on their life insurance, right?
Right.
Okay. So let's go back and add that in, and I'm gonna have Jeff add it in. So let's add in, because he's already paying $82 to the life insurance. We're gonna stop paying that, we're gonna start paying something new, right? So that brings our total to what? Plus 82, 766 plus 82 is what? 848. So I'd have them make another ledger, right? This is what you're currently paying for life insurance. Okay, so here's his 848. So I'm, again, it's half a dozen to one, 6 of the other. Make sure they've got it accounted for. So this is what you need. And so Jeff, what we're gonna be able to do is we're gonna actually get you what you need, the exact amounts, and we're gonna get it for the time you need to have it for. And so Jeff, what's gonna happen is that's gonna cost you this much per month. That's more than you're paying now, but it's like triple the coverage, right? It's a little bit longer. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. Jeff, I need you to write down on your paper, so you got your 844, that's the money that's there. I want you to write down minus 135.12. And next to it, I want you to write life insurance. So go ahead and write that down. Okay, and let's go ahead and, so you got your phone, let's get it out and let's go ahead and subtract it. Okay? So I am having him do this, and I'm doing this, right? Okay, at the same time.
711.88.
Right, so here's the 844 minus the 135.12 for the life insurance. It's how much money? 711.88. Okay, so Jeff, that's left, right? That makes sense? Okay, so what I've done is I've already, remember how I went and I calculated that beforehand? I already know that 711.88 was there, right? So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna split that money up between the two things that are left, which is what? Debt and investments, right? So watch this. So again, I've done this before I've shown them, okay? So they have 711, right? Is that what they have left? Okay, so I'm gonna go back to retirement, okay? And I'm gonna save another amount. I'm going to choose that, right? So now look, they've got plenty of money left over, right? We don't need to put enormous amounts on debt. A little bit used with debt stacking is gonna pay that off very, very quickly. That money mathematically would be much better off earning compound interest than saving a little bit of extra interest. Because of debt stacking, we're already saving a lot of the interest, right? So watch. So I'm gonna go to other saving amount. So we had 711 left, right?
Yep.
So I'm gonna put in 500 and then go, and what it's gonna do is it's gonna give me, again, a third option. Okay, it's gonna give me a third option. So they're already, real quick, take a look. They're already saving 800. So the money you're adding extra needs to be on top of it. So if we add 500 to 800, what is that? Okay. Do you see how it's kind of, it's almost too smart? It's accounting for everything individually, right? So now we got go. So I put that in. So if we put 500 there, what does we have left on debt? 211. So watch. I'm gonna go to results. I'm not showing them this. This is all in the 2 or 3 minutes that I said, remember, I'm gonna need to do some calculations real quick. Go amuse yourself for a couple of minutes and then I'll have this. This is what I'm doing, right? So I'm gonna go to additional payment per month. So they're paying $241. Are we using all $241? No, we're gonna use what? $211. Does everybody understand that? So I'm gonna go to additional payment. Here it is showing me what's there. So follow the math. They had 844. We put 135 to life insurance, 500 to savings, 211 to debt. There's your 844. You following that? But watch what happens. This is what's gonna be great. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to my commitment and program. So I've shown them the life insurance, he subtracted off of it, right? I say, great, the next thing I want you to look at is, let's go ahead and look at your debt. I skip and I go to debt, okay, and I show them this. So I say, Jeff, look, here's what you're doing right now. Your minimum payments, $24.48 a month. It's your mortgage and everything. You're currently paying $241 a month extra, right? Okay, even with that extra payment, you're gonna be in debt for 16 years and 4 months. You're gonna pay 91 grand in interest, because are they debt stacking? No, they're just paying, no plan, right? So I say, Jeff, check this out. We're actually gonna take less overage than you're paying now. We're gonna reduce that from 241 to 211, okay? So I want you to write that down, Jeff. So minus 211 debt repayment. Okay, could you write that down? So I'm gonna have them write it down. I don't know why this keeps disappearing with me like that. There you go. So minus 211 for debt leaves me approximately how much, right? 500. So you got that written down, right? So 135 for life, the 211 for debt. And I want to show you, just by paying it in a different way that we've calculated for you, check this out. We're going to pay less money to the debt, Jeff, and you're going to be out of debt 6 years and 8 months sooner. Okay? You're going to save yourself $28,000 in interest. 28 grand, and that's just interest savings. You're forgetting the fact that you're going to not have to make $2,400 monthly payments for 7 years. That's on top of the interest savings, right? And so here's how we're going to do it. I go to details. And so Jeff, right now what you were doing is you were paying $241, a little here, a little there, a little everywhere, right? And we said that's not very efficient. What we're going to do is we're going to pay the $211, but we're going to pay it all on what? All on one, Jeff. What's that first one? We're going to pay it on the Visa. Your minimum 72. Here's your acceleration. So your payment starting when? Right away is $283. Minimums on everything else, right? Right, Jeff?
Where did you just know that?
That will pay off in April of 2017. Okay? So that's going to take our monthly payment of $283, and then we're going to dump it on the car. Okay? I'm sorry, that's when it starts accelerating. It'll pay off in August, in August of 2018, right? So in August 2018, when that first debt pays off, we're going to take that monthly payment of $283. We don't have to pay anymore because it's gone. And we're going to add it to the next one, which is the car. That's our new payment, right? That'll pay off in July. See all the interest saved? Okay? Now we can take that money, so on and so forth. I just explained it to you. Minimums on everything. We pay in this order. Jeff, you should print this page and put it on your fridge. Well, what happens if I get new debt? You're going to get people who say that sometimes. That's fine. We still have to pay it off, so we can pay it off at the end of 2026, or we can pay it off at the end of 2037. Which one would you rather pay it off at the end of? I mean, you got to pay it off either way, right? Let's pay it off on this one. So again, the long story short on this is, Jeff, you saved $28,000 in interest using the exact same money, and you're out of debt almost 7 years earlier. Isn't that magic? That's incredible. Jeff, who do you know that would love to pay off their debt 6, 7, 8 years earlier, paying less money, right? A ton of people, right? Okay, very good. Okay?
Ian, how'd you come up with the 211 again? Out of that?
I just picked it. I just randomly picked it because I've done it a bunch of times. Watch. So let's go ahead and play with this here. Watch how little of a difference it makes. The real magic of debt stacking comes from what? The compounding of the payments, right? One on top of another. So even if we're paying twice as much extra, it's not going to pay off twice as fast. Why? We're already reducing a lot of the outstanding interest, but we still have to pay back the principal. You understand? The principal's not changing. The interest is changing. We've already killed most of the interest. Right? So what happens is if we take more money and put it on debt, it will pay off faster, but not that much faster. Versus if we take that money, we put it in an IRA, that money's worth a gazillion bucks 30, 40, 50 years from now. You understand that? Okay. And you can play with this and you can see, right? How do I know how to do this stuff? Because I did this like 5,000 times, right? Okay. So
I just want to know where you're getting it.
So Jeff, so we put 135 on life insurance, we're properly protected. We put 211 to debt, we're out of debt almost 8 years early, right? Okay. That leaves us how much money, Jeff, according to you on your paper? $500, right? So I'm back to the commitment and program, right? And I'm showing him, so I say, let's talk about your retirement, okay? Hopefully it doesn't freeze, right? Okay. So right now, Jeff, between what you're saving, right, your wife's saving, the money you're getting the money that you're putting away, you're saving right now $800 a month, okay, right? And so you said you'd like to have about the same amount of money per month that you have now. You said 100%, so $10,000 a month. The problem is $10,000 a month, right? 21 years from now is not going to buy you what $10,000 a month buys you now. So we've taken into inflation. Your income goal is actually $17,000 a month. $17,000 a month, 21 years from now is what's going to buy you $10,000 a month worth of stuff today. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we factored in your pension, right? We factored in anything else, right? Okay. And so here's what you're going to need for retirement right now, okay? You need about $3.5 million saved to be able to retire at 62, right? And have $17,000 a month from 62 till 86, okay? Based on your current rate of savings, you're gonna have $929,000. So you're still gonna have some money, but not enough, right? That's saving $800. But what did I help you free up? The other $500. So we're gonna put that on top of your money, right? Okay. And now you've got $1,300 a month going into your savings, right? So your savings went from $929 to $1.2. So it's not enough, but it's about 300 grand more than you have now, right? There's $300,000 more money than you're gonna have if we don't change anything, right? Pretty impressive. So I want you to look at what we've did, Jeff. We've taken the same money that you already had, and what we've done is we've tripled your insurance coverage. We've gotten you out of debt 6.5, 7 years faster. We put $300,000 extra into your retirement account. And how much is that costing you, Jeff? Zero. That's powerful, isn't it? Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. Okay, we've already done your life insurance app. I'm gonna have you fill out this change form, and that's to increase it to the number that we need, okay? You're gonna start paying your debts this way immediately, okay? And we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna open you a Roth IRA for you and for Jasmine. We'll split it $250 a month into the Roths, okay? And we're gonna get those started. And now I'm just gonna close the extra transactions and then get the referrals and talk to them more about recruiting. Jeff, listen, right? What you see me here, so I'm giving you an inside look, right? But I'm going through this in 15 minutes, right?
Yeah.
What's this, what's this, what's this, what's this? Here, let me show you, right? Jeff, is there anything you saw me do here today that with a little bit of training you don't feel like you could do? Probably not, right? It's pretty simple. Imagine if you could do for the people you love and care about what I just did for you. I mean, that's millions of dollars difference to you, right? Millions. Because guess what? When we pay off your debt in 9 years, you know how we're gonna make up that shortfall? You ain't gonna have any debt. We're gonna be able to put $2,500 a month into this 9 years from now, right? So we're gonna be in good shape for retirement. Imagine if you could do that for all the people you love and care about. How would you feel about yourself doing something like that? Incredible, right? What if I told you make like $1,000 to $1,500 every time you did that for somebody? We could even start saving that full amount in retirement right away, potentially. We wouldn't have to wait to pay off for that, right? How do you feel about that? And I'm gonna try recruiting them with the shortfall and with the goodness of what we do, right? Everybody understand that? Okay, questions. I know I gave you a lot, right? I told you it was a lot, right?
I had three main questions that I wrote down, and it kind of touches on what Jordan asked already. With the 211 versus the 500, the 211 that you're paying, you know, that you're reappropriating to the debt, and the 500 that you're investing. Where did you come up with the 500?
I just
threw that out.
Yeah, I just threw it out. What, you want to see what happens if we pick different numbers?
No, I just want to be clear on that. And
Yeah.
the other
So
question-
so let me stop you. Generally, the rule of thumb is this: if there's not already overpayment going on to debt, you're going to want to allocate more to the repayment of debt. In this case, there's already a substantial amount of overpayment going on. They're just not stacking it. So I know I'm going to, with even just using most of what was there, I'm going to get a big movement, right? So again, it's time value money. Eventually the debt's going to pay off one way or the other. And once it's paid off, the money we put there doesn't help us anymore. But compounding interest in a mutual fund will continue to grow forever, right? So it's mathematically, it's better there than paid off on debt. And so there's a break-even point. You could calculate what that break-even point is, but it's largely irrelevant.
Right. So in that situation, if that was a real client, you just know, hey, I can show this client they're gonna actually be paying less on their debt.
They're paying less towards
Hey,
their
I'm
debt.
paying $30 a month less on my debt, but I'm getting out of debt
Faster. Paying less and getting more. And so now I can take that money that I saved there and put it somewhere even more efficient. Right?
How does this account for variable income?
It doesn't. So here's how you account for variable income. A salesperson, somebody who's up and down. I just use their baseline income. So, Danny, what do you know is coming in on average over a monthly basis? Because are they paying their bills, yes or no?
Yes.
If they're paying their bills, guess what? It doesn't matter what their income is, right? What is this a total? This is totally based off of what? Outflow. Out. It doesn't matter what their income is. If they're servicing outflow already, then all we're accounting for here is outflow. Do you understand that?
As long as you pay. And so what would you, like then?
I could change that number to whatever number in the world, it doesn't matter.
So I'm okay with it. What I'm asking is so you would use a number that you know for sure I'm getting every month.
Mm-hmm.
That whatever extra that is, do they then go and how did they decide where the best way to put that? Do they just put it towards the next debt savings increment?
Yep.
Okay.
If you have more, Danny, if you have more than the 211, right? Okay. Put however much you want, just put it on the first one.
Okay.
Don't go out of order.
Yeah.
And when you pay that off, you need to keep paying in the order.
In the order. Right.
So Lance had 2 more questions, I think.
Yeah, so it's a little bit related to that, and maybe I'm analyzing it too much, but we all of us that either have mortgages or have had mortgages know, if you look at your statement, it's sickening, especially in the first 10 years, how much of your payment is going towards interest versus the principal. So does the FNA always stack like that where, I mean, obviously you want to pay off high interest credit cards first. Does it always go credit cards, then auto loans,
No,
then mortgage?
no. So it actually has, and you'll get people who like you blow their mind because they got 0% interest and it's showing it being paid off first. They're like, why would I pay that off first? The FNA doesn't, here's what it's doing. It's creating some sort of algorithm where it's looking at every potential payoff sequence and what's fastest. Here's what matters most. What matters most is available cash flow to pay onto large balances. Okay? So what it's doing is it's figuring out how to create the biggest snowball the fastest. Even if it means paying off at 0 interest. Why would you pay it off at 0 interest? Because I want the money to pay off the one that is charging me interest. Right? Well, let me just put the money there. No, you're going backwards. That's why you're in debt. They've taught you to think completely backwards about how the debt's actually working, right? So mathematically, there's no faster way, but it's different on every scenario. It's based on interest rates, minimum, like let's say you had a debt that's gonna free up $50 a month or a debt that's gonna free up $200 a month. Which one's it gonna try to get paid off first? The 200, so we can go after those other ones more aggressively.
Yep.
Right? So that's how it's calculating it. It's literally running like probably a half dozen calculations and saying this mathematically is the correct way to pay this series of debt based on these interest rates, these required minimums, and the other available cash flow. There's no faster way out than this way. Yep, so we address that. You just leave it at 0 right now, and if and when it changes, if it changes in the structure, we can rerun it. But guess what? It's gonna make very little difference. Because again, we're not so concerned with the interest rate as we are about the capital that's available to hit, right? Because guess what? Even a high interest rate credit card is doing relatively small damage to you compared to your mortgage.
Right.
The net amount of interest that's being taken from you is not off of those things, it's off of the big boys, right? So we're gonna try to aggressively attack those. So it might change the order a little bit. You might be a month off one way or the other, but it's not gonna be drastic. You have one more and then we'll go to other ones.
I do related to the, so in this scenario, they were already paying $82 a month for life insurance. We've come up with $135 that they need. Let's say 2 weeks ago I closed them on an app at $100 a month. When I identify that in the middle before I get to the end, am I trying to get a commitment from them then to increase?
Nope, because you already did. They said they wanted, it's 10 that they're properly taken care of, right? So I just showed them, and the money's not a factor because they got $800 worth of money. That could have been $200 a month, and guess what would have happened? Nothing. They just have less money to put in the savings. But it didn't matter because it's an order in which it's got to be done right. That's why the FNA is so important. If you do FNAs, you're going to do increases like mad, right? Because they never buy what they really should have, right? But this shows them how to pay for what they really should have and pay off their debt earlier and save more money than they're saving now, right? It's a win-win-win. So I'm not going to compete on component pieces here. The FNA takes out competition of component pieces because it's a whole plan, right? Properly protected, you're out of debt 7 years early, you have 300 grand more in your savings, same money you're paying every month. There's no point in nitpicking it because it's a whole package. That makes sense to you? Okay, 1, 2.
I got 2 minor questions.
Speak loud so the people in the back can hear you.
Do you print this out for them? Because we've always put it in a binder with
if you want
information. Because you're just basically showing them.
I just show it to them. I show it to
table?
them. Yeah. I say, hey, take a screenshot of that.
Okay.
Take a screenshot
so
of your debt and put it out.
bring back the data
sure, you could,
with their policy.
Sure, bring it back and
it
deliver it with the policy.
Okay.
Sure.
And then if we did the budget part of it, we
Ooh,
could probably
run!
No.
No. Yeah. So how's doing the budget going to help you? It's
I
not.
don't know if you can find more money by seeing what they're spending their money on.
Because that's where. Everything else. I don't care about everything else.
You don't care.
Nope. Are you gonna really stop watching TV so you can put money in your Roth IRA?
No.
Everything else includes electric bills.
Everything. I don't. So here was my commitment to that client. For the same or less money that you have in this fixed situation, I'm going to do this for you. If I start going in and making them cut out stuff, I'm not delivering on my promise to them.
Right.
You don't need to change anything. You do nothing. Let me just suck the money to here, here, and here, and you are idiot proof. You have 300 grand more, and you're out of debt 7 years early. And if you die, your family has the right amount, and you did nothing. You changed nothing in your life. You did zero. I just did it for you. I leave here today, and you're on autopilot, and you're $500,000 better off. So I'm not doing anything for debt budget. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care where the money's going. Let it keep going there, and neither should you. You shouldn't care where it's going either. It's not really going to help you that much. Putting an extra $50 not going to help you. Paying off your debt 9 years early, and then putting that money in your retirement account is going to give you $2 million. And what do you need to do for that? Nothing. It's going to happen automatically.
We get people who don't really have a whole lot of debt or anything. So
Time
I'm
out.
not sure how to improve the situation to get them to increase the insurance.
Okay, so
finding the money is a little harder.
So the people you're dealing with, okay, so this is a telltale sign of wrong market. I don't have any. I'm debt free. Well, it's because you don't own anything. I rent. I don't own anything. Right. So yeah, that's wrong market. Right. So you just got to be careful there. Right. When you go and see people who don't have insurance and don't have savings and don't have debt, then of course it's going to take them more money than they're spending on it to do those things because they're not spending any money on it. Right. But it's because they are barely above poverty line probably. Yeah. That's where you get that. Or you get very wealthy people who don't have debt and they're extremely interested in these things. That's how they got wealthy. Right. So so if you're dealing
somebody that has like a 401k, we're actually meeting with him this week. 401k, he has no debt because he pays everything in cash.
Does he have a mortgage?
Yes, he has a mortgage.
He
not
has
a
debt.
High mortgage because he put a lot down on it.
Doesn't matter. It's still debt. He's your self-proclaimed hero. You're talking. I'm doing great. I don't have any debt. You have a mortgage? Yeah. Well, what do you mean you don't have any debt? You have $80,000 in debt, bozo. Right? It's like that's a lot of debt. Right? But does it? So just be careful to not be easily sold by your client on how wonderful they're doing, because in their mind they think, oh, it's good debt. That may or may not be true, but it's still debt. You still owe somebody $80,000. You're still going to pay twice as much or 3 times as much in interest, and I can still help you get out much faster. But so what you might be saying is, what if they're not already paying extra on debt, right? Okay, so if they have anything, if you put $5 extra or $10 extra there, it's still going to pay it off faster. And where are you going to find the money? Taxes, other insurance programs, over contribution of 401k, their monthly commitment.
Find it there.
Okay? Yeah. So you just got to be, when you're dealing with people who have very little amounts of debt, that's good, but it's generally also associated with people who don't own anything. Yeah. So, and that's generally associated with people that are at the very bottom end of the market that we're looking to be in. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Did that
thank you.
answer your question?
And this
Okay.
guy's got a ton of money going into savings accounts.
He's
Sure.
putting it in a savings.
Wonderful. So there's a bunch there, right? So how much you putting into savings every month? $500. What interest rate are you getting? 0. If I could show you something that was better than that, you'd want to do that, right? By the way, if you have interest-bearing debt like a mortgage, right, and you're putting boatloads into non-interest-bearing savings, why don't we take some of that and put it on the mortgage? Right? Because you're guaranteed to save your interest rates, like a guarantee. If his interest rate's 5, we gave you a savings account that guaranteed you 5, you do it, right? That's what I just did. It's called pay off your mortgage. Aristida.
I noticed you didn't use the financial independence number at all. Is there a scenario where you?
That was the 3.
I did.
You did.
3.5. This is what you need. This is what you're going to have. So you're a little bit short. This is where you're going to be. You're still short, but we're going to make up some of that gap by when you pay off your debt in 9 years. We're going to put that money here.
Is there a way to count that, to show them that?
You can, but it's. Let me explain to you in real life what happens here, okay? In real life, what happens here is they move through this process, but they keep adding stuff into it.
Yeah.
They get a different car, they get a different house,
Yeah.
which is fine. We'll put it in, and you're still going to be out of debt way, way, way faster. But chances of them actually not acquiring any new debt over that period of time is very, very slim. So there's virtually no point in showing them. At this point, we start putting all this in, right? Because they're just, in practice, very, very rarely going to do it. Very rarely.
Along that line, what if they're completely delusional at the beginning of the FNA?
Right.
They say, well, I only need, right now we're $5,000 a month, $5,000 a month income, but by the time I retire, I need $1,500 a month between the two of us.
Okay, yeah, so you just coach them on it. You say, Aristida, I appreciate that that's what you think, okay, but you've just got to remember a couple of things, right? Does the cost for food go up or down over time? Does the cost for gas go up or down over time? Does the cost for anything go up or down over time, right? And so you're figuring about a couple of things. You're probably going to pay $1,500 a month in health insurance when you get old, okay? So there's some things you're forgetting about there. So Aristida, every year you get a letter in the mail from Social Security, and that letter tells you don't have less than 80%. So if you want to use less, we'll use less, but we're just not going to use less than that because Social Security doesn't want you on other forms of government assistance, and so that's what they're telling you, probably going to keep you out of there. Okay, so let's use that. Are you okay with that? So I'm just going to coach them a little bit on that. So remember, I'm a little brash with you guys about the way people think, but I'm not that way at all with a client. I'm going to be very, very patient. I'm going to be very, very positive with them. I'm going to be very much a teacher with them. Aristida, I appreciate what you're telling me there. Let me kind of explain to you how that works so you get a better understanding, right? You follow that? I'm talking with you a certain way, so you pick up how some of this wrong thinking is and how silly it is, but you never talk that way to a client, ever, 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 right? Yeah, you never call him a bozo. Yeah, you never call him a bozo. But listen, you will have clients that are bozos, right? That are like straight up argumentative with you about crap that's just not right. It's just not correct, but they're sold on it is correct, right? So yeah, so we're always going to make sure that we're very, very gentle with them and very much with a heart of a teacher, right? Does that make sense?
Okay, so they apply for insurance, go back within a week or less, do the FNA because they're on board, okay? And at that point, we go back at, for policy delivery, and you follow up and go, hey, are you following the plan? And they're not. Do you do anything with that? Is it worth,
Generally they're following it, or they'll tell you like, hey, I did my tax withholding, blah, 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 or I haven't done it yet. Okay, well you need to do it. Will you do it this week? Can I call you next week and make sure you did it?
Is there any benefit or merit to following up on them other than the fact that you want them to do well, of course? enforce, but like.
So like periodically following up with
Well,
them
like
on their
some
plan?
people just don't like following through stuff, they're lazy.
Yeah, so my job was to what? Educate,
right,
provide the resources, help them engage in those resources. My job is not to babysit them down the process. So what I tell them is this: if you ever have trouble, or if you get something new or something changes, your job is to call me and let me know, and I'll rerun this for you and I'll make sure it's up to date.
And my follow-up to that is, what about, we do it, like, we have a debt section that we offer, like a, debt watcher.
Yeah. So let me tell you here, okay? So the jack of all trades is the master of none.
Right.
Okay? So I've sold like 2 debt watchers in my entire career. I couldn't sign you up for debt watchers right now if you paid me. I don't know how to do it, right? Okay, so here's what I would recommend to you. That's not gonna help them do it any more than what I just did here. It's gonna take you 45 minutes to set them up. They're gonna have goo gobs of questions. You're gonna make $30 or something redonkulous on it. It's just not, I just don't see them as being worth our time. When I come back to deliver the policy, I'm gonna do your will, your PLPP, I'm gonna leave the auto and home number with you, but I'm not gonna try to get you involved in all these other ancillary products that are out there. I don't think they're
interested, sure,
but they're not gonna be interested unless you tell them about it, right? So, like, hey, I've never had anybody say, hey, I heard you have a great debt product, right? But again, it's just them paying for essentially what I just did for them for free. So it's not that they're not good, but you have a limited amount of space up here. And so you need to focus on the main things, right? Remember, so the main things are properly protected, have money saved for retirement, don't be under massive amounts of bone-crushing debt for the rest of your life, right? Okay, so those are the main things. I'm not worried about anything else. I'm not gonna try to sell them anything else. I'd be much better off taking my effort and calling somebody else to do this with. Gina? I don't even think that exists, honestly, anymore.
What's that?
So this is why you don't even worry about these other products. They change, something happens. I don't know. Yeah. So if you're like a disaster and you're not paying your bills, you were just with the wrong person.
Yeah.
So let me help you get insurance so you don't perpetually not be able to pay like living necessities, right? And let's help you try to save so you have a little bit of money of your own.
Never recruit them.
Yep. So yeah.
Real
1,
quick,
2.
and the life insurance, where you put their current life insurance, if they only have group,
Speak loud so they can hear you.
If they only have group life insurance, do you put that in the equation at all?
If they're paying for it.
Okay.
If they're paying for it. Bob, and then Angie.
Okay, so you get you're gonna do the policy increase. Do you have them fill out the policy change form right then?
Yep. Yes.
And then when it comes back, you.
Yep. When should you turn in the increase form? After the policy issues. Because if you turn it in while it's in underwriting, they don't give you any credit for it. If it issues and then you turn it in, they give you credit for it again. So you should fill it out right then, but you should turn it into an admin with a note that says, don't process till in force.
That considered savings.
Well, there's multiple things that happen, right? If it's in underwriting and you submit an increase, they're not going to give you credit for it at all. Number 2, let's say it was already a max case. Well, they're not going to give you any more credit for it, but if the policy issues and you do an increase, they'll give you a whole nother line of credit for it. And in advance. Versus waiting till it issues.
So you have to go and get a signature, have it enforced, and then...
Speak up.
It's got to be enforced before you turn in an increase. Always got to have a policy that's enforced on a monthly bank draft, by the way, for an increase. Okay, if it's not on a bank draft, you got to put it on a bank draft to get to do an increase. All right, any other questions?
Just when you were talking about the exemptions and how much they pay in taxes.
Speak louder so everybody can hear you.
When you recommend what they should change their exemptions to, how did you get that number again?
$50 a number. So
Okay.
if you want $250 a month, you should raise it by 5. Unless they're making more than 100 grand, then you could do a little less because each one is worth more physical dollars. It's not an exact science. It's a little bit, give or take.
What if you're
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. So
Total
if
income.
My husband making 40
Doesn't matter.
You're raising them both by.
It's still less than 100.
But however you want the money. You could leave one alone and totally put the other one off the chart, or you could do half and half. Yeah, however you want to do it. Yep, it's a net sum equation, right? So whether you do it all here or all there or half here or 30-70, it's still the same. Louder, please.
Can you explain again, like, so people say, you know, oh, I only have 2 PAs exemptions, like, I only have 2 exemptions. Can you explain again?
Yeah, so here's how you explain to them. Say, Gina, listen, it actually has zero to do with how many children you have, okay? So the tax code is all jacked up, right, okay? Right, doesn't make any sense anymore. So maybe at some point way back in the day, it used to line up, but it just doesn't anymore. So we know it's not lined up because you claimed what you thought you should have, and then they took $5 grand more from you than they should have. So all we're gonna do is get your claiming in line with what you actually owe them. Does that make sense to you, Gina? Great.
So if you run into the field with somebody who's self-employed, not making enough that they pay quarterly, and the wife is working, you put it all on the wife.
Correct. If there's a W-2, it's got to go to, yeah, if you have one that's 1099 and one that's W-2, you got to go to the W-2 for any adjustments. You all understand?
Yeah.
What other questions do you have? Yeah,
I mean, like,
she
what's
said,
the
are you going to
question?
take us through trying to recruit? I just did. Jeff, you're missing this much money. How would you feel if you did something like this for people you knew? You'd feel great about yourself, right? What if you could make $1,000 or $1,500 a month or a time every time you did it, right? You'd feel good about that. Great, let's get you started.
Switching to PLPP, where and when?
PLPP is on the policy delivery. It's already there. They already got a form filled out for you. By the way, every single time you deliver a policy, every time, you should be turning in a PLPP form. Guys, listen, for $62, that client's gonna get a will, a living will, and a power of attorney. If they have life insurance, they need those things, okay? If they have a home, if they have children, if they have 401ks, they need to have these things, right?
What do you mean for 62?
$10 to join, 26 a month. It's going to take them 2 months. If they don't want to keep the program after that, they can stop it. Every single time, you should be turning in a PLPP with a delivery. I don't understand why you don't do a gazillion times more of those, right? It's common sense. We deliver the policy. By the way, Doug and Dina, do you guys have a will? A will is one of those things that, like, you know, most of the time groupthink isn't positive, okay? But this is one of the things where the vast majority of people tend to be of the opinion that that's something you should have. Everybody kind of knows, like, yeah, I should have that, right? So, great. Do you have a will? No? Okay, for $62, I can get you a will, a living will, and a power of attorney, right? We should set that up for you. You have 10 minutes. We can do it right now. If you want to know more, go on POL, go to training. I have a training on this. Exactly what to say, exactly how it works, exactly how to explain it. It's like 8 minutes long. Go watch that.
Ian, I've heard people ask if there's chargebacks if they.
On PLPP?
Yes.
There is, but nobody cancels it. I have no idea. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. They're like, oh yeah, I don't want to keep this around. It's fine, just write in afterwards and cancel it.
Oh, they forget
I can't
about
believe it. Yeah, I just
auto-deducting.
can't believe it. I don't know. Apparently it's not enough money that people care. But it will charge you. It will charge you back because they give you an advance, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
You turn in a PLPP, you get $75 right away. Yeah, it's an RVP. It's 100 or something. I don't know what it is. But like, imagine you wrote 10 policies a month that you delivered, and you made $75 a time to deliver them. That's like a Mercedes-Benz payment coming in off a product that client needs to have, that they want. They want it.
That's actually good. Yeah.
They want the product. You're not having to sell it to them. They know they should have it.
$5 a month, it's $500.
Right? And there's a residual on it, by the way. Right? A big residual. I have a buddy named Greg Fitzpatrick in Florida, makes $110,000 a year residual off that product.
What? That's crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
So every time you should have it. Unless they have a will, like an up-to-date will, that should come in with a PLPP.
We know a guy that wins all the trips.
What'd you say? It's every month. It's just monthly
Ongoing.
until they say they don't want it. But it gives them, what does it give them? They have 24-hour access to attorneys for any reason. You get pulled over, you call these guys at 2 a.m. in the morning and put the cop on the phone with an attorney, right? They'll review contracts for you, they'll make phone calls for you, they will write letters for you, they will show up to court and defend you. And it's zero, right? So
for $300 a year, for
it's stupid.
A little retainer like that.
I am their
worst
worst client because they lose so much money on me. It's unbelievable, right? Because listen, I have people who work for me here or work for me at the house or do stuff, and if you do something even just this much weird, you're getting a letter from them. Right? Because
the police that came a couple days ago, did you have to call them?
No. I didn't have to do that. That was bizarre, huh? Normally they come to break up our op meetings because we're parked everywhere. That was a first. I texted that to Glenn Williams. Yeah. I said, I don't know if this is a first for you. He said, it is indeed a first. We're always breaking records. We're always breaking records.
There's only one number one.
Exactly. There's only one number one. Yeah, so, but like, I just don't, like, how many times have you had like a big giant corporation, like, for example, I used to have Sprint, and Sprint like 2.5 years ago, they were doing something with their towers, and I would drop like 30 calls a day. It was stupid. And I called and complained like 4 different times, and the most they would give me is $25 off my bill. And I'm like, look, I can't run my business dropping every call, right? You need to let me out of the contract. They didn't want to let me out of the contract, right? So I get these guys to send Sprint a letter demanding they release me out of the contract. Well, guess what? As a publicly traded corporation, they cannot receive correspondence, legal correspondence, and not reply. They have, their legal has got to reply to other legal correspondence. So now Sprint has the opportunity to choose, pay my corporate attorney $400 an hour to respond to this guy who wants out of his contract 6 months early, and then wait for their response, and then respond again, and then wait, or just say fine. So guess what they do? They say fine, right? So, and I use it all the time, nonstop. If you do something that wasn't right, and you don't want to deal with me on it, I'm going to have them send you a letter. And you know what? Those people call you instantly. You get a contractor who's not trying to, and they get a letter from a lawyer, they're on the phone, I'll come and make it right. Because they don't have money to deal with you dealing with them through an attorney. Right? I mean, end of story, right? How many times have you had somebody or something, you're like, man, I wish I had, right? But it would cost you more to hire an attorney than what it was worth. It's free. You just call them. Hey, this guy did this to me, send him a letter. And they will. Yep. They will. So they keep that until they write in and say they don't want it. And they get 50-some free trial hours every year. They'll probate your estate for free. They'll do a will update once a year. I mean, it's a wonderful service. I have it. I love it. I think it's great.
So because of you, they're not going to raise our rates, are they?
Hopefully not. Hopefully not.
This is like the first time you've heard of this. Is this the same company as Legal Shield?
It's the answer is yes and no. It's Primerica Legal Protection Program. It is underwritten by Legal Shield.
Okay.
So they're the end provider of the product. Yep, they're the end provider of the product.
Same thing all the time.
Yep.
You have to get certified on POL to sell this.
You have to get certified on POL to sell it. I don't know how to do that, so how do you do it?
It's very simple.
You just, I don't even know, I got fumbled through it. Ask your RVP.
Okay, ask, well, that
if
you probably don't know.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
If you go to training and getting trained or whatever, and you go to
licensing and education.
Yeah, I have to stumble through it.
Licensing and education?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just one of the
You probably need to go onto
trainings.
the actual, yeah, so go onto the actual website, not the mobile, the actual website. Go to training, right?
Yeah, online training.
Online training, yeah. Should be pretty easy. Get yourself certified. If you don't have this product, you should. You should. It's hard to sell something you don't own, right? But I love it. I use it all the time, nonstop. They don't like me over there. Like, oh, it's Ian again. Did you get the wrong order at McDonald's today?
Donut didn't have enough cream.
Exactly. My donut didn't have enough cream in it from Tim Hortons. Demanding a year's supply.
You go on licensing and education, not training.
Okay, licensing and education.
And it'll have tabs. You go into the start steps to licensing, and then across the top it'll have tabs, and you pick PLPP.
Pick PLPP.
Or legal protection.
Yep. If you don't have, listen, seriously, if you don't have it, you should go on and get it. At least get your own will done and power of attorney. I mean, for goodness sake, right? Okay. But use the service. Call them, talk to them, and see if you like it, so you know how to sell that to other people. It's a wonderful service. It really is. I make so much more money off it every year than I ever spend on it. It's good.
So can you, like, let's say the person doesn't get our life insurance, but can you sell them that?
Sure. Yeah, but so like again, so now that like virtually never happens, right? Because they would have garage saled that somewhere in the process, and I don't let people garage sale me unless you got a lot of money. If you got a big chunk of money and you want to hem haw with me about some of this other stuff, fine. We'll talk about this. But if you don't have a big chunk of money I'm trying to help roll over for you, I'm going to be like maniacally insistent upon you need to do everything because there's a purpose for everything. Right? Does that make sense? Good. Any other questions on this? Okay, so let's recap. Okay, let's recap. I'm going to go back here. So we've reminded them of the commitments that they've given us, right? Yeah. I get the scale of 1 to 10. 1 is you're financially destitute, you can't pay your bills. 10 is you have multiple millions. Where do you see yourself now? What would it take for you to see yourself here, right? And then I'm going to fill out the data, right? I'm going to fill out the data. Page by page by page, right? Okay, starting with income. I'm going to get the taxes, I'm going to explain the taxes, and they're going to start keeping a tally of money that we're finding, right? Taxes, I'm going to go across the top. I'm going to ask them the 1 to 10 on saving for retirement. How important is it that you can retire, right? If they have over contribution to 401k, I'm going to have them ledger that on their sheet. I'm going to ledger it. I know it's extra money, right? On debt, 1 to 10 question, right? On debt, I'm going to put in the debts. I'm going to see how much extra they're paying. I'm going to have them tally that on their ledger. I'm tallying it on my ledger, right? Life insurance, same thing, right? If they have life insurance through somewhere else, I'm going to take that premium. I'm going to have them tally it on the ledger, right? I'm going to start from scratch if they just have ours, right? And then I'm going to go to your commitment and program. I'm going to ask them for a monthly commitment that they can invest into their own financial future. Right, I'm going to give them a triplicate of choice. Most of our clients say here to here, some say here, some say here. What do you feel comfortable with? I'm going to have them put that on their ledger. I'm going to total the ledger. They're going to total the ledger. I'm going to say, hey, for just a couple minutes, I'm going to be doing some calculations. I just want to make sure that this is clear and right before I go through it. So if you got something you need to do real quick, or you need to take a cell phone break for a minute, or a bathroom break, go ahead and do it. Now would be a good time for that. And so what I'm doing now is I got my pile of money. I'm going to go back to the life insurance, and I'm going to get it off a standard unless I think they're going to be standard. If they're tobacco, I'm going to put them to I'm going to get them to whatever rating they need, and I'm going to put them at a term length that makes the most sense. I'm going to see what that number is, right, that we're going to settle on, and I'm going to make a ledger on my sheet. I'm going to do the math problem first, all the way through on my sheet, and then I'm going to take them through. Right, so I know I've got this much going, leaves me this much. I'm going to put an amount on debt. I'm going to run the debt. Again, I'm not showing them this. This is in my couple minutes, right? I'm putting the money on debt. I'm seeing the results. Okay, I'm good with that. I've got this option here. It's faster. It's saving them money, and it's saving them interest. I'm going to go back to the investment. I'm going to put the remaining money left on the investment, right? I'm going to make sure that it makes sense, right? So they're saving X. I found that leftover money. I'm going to give them another option. Perfect. It's better than the option they have. So I did get them out of debt faster. I did get them properly insured. I did help them save more money. It's all within the realm of money we found. So now I'm going to go to my commitment and program. Remember, this is important so you're not having a jumble of things here. I'm going to go to customize the financial house and clear all. Save. That's gonna give me the financial house. I'm gonna take a quick second, I'm gonna educate on the financial house. The priority there is life insurance, right? Make sure that we have enough money to survive there, right? And then I'm gonna go one by one. I'm gonna click on the hyperlink, it's gonna take me to life insurance. I'm gonna show them what they have now, what the cost is. Remember we wrote that down, right? I'm gonna show them where it is on their ledger, what they need and why, what the new cost is. I'm gonna have them subtract off the ledger, life insurance. What do we have left? We have this much left. Great. Now I'm gonna go back to the house. I'm gonna show them debt. I always do debt second, even though it's stacked third, I always do debt second. Right, I'm gonna show them what they're doing right now. Hey, based on what you're doing right now, your current monthly payments, right? You're gonna be in debt for this long, you're gonna pay this much in interest. This is what we're gonna recommend, less monthly payment. You're out of debt this much earlier, it saves you that much interest. Let me show you how. I'm gonna show them the detail, tell them to print it off, okay? And then I'm gonna go back to the house and I'm gonna show them the investment portion, right? What are you doing now? Right? Here's where you are right now. You're saving 800. You're gonna have a shortfall of 2.6 million. We're upping the savings to 1,300 from the 500 we have left over. That's gonna make a $300,000 difference to you. That's a big deal, right? Hey, what are we gonna do to fund this? Well, in 9 years, remember, you're gonna have your debt paid off. So we're gonna take that money, we're gonna put it here, and we're gonna catch back up, right? Does that make sense? Great, so at this point, I'm gonna recap. So Jeff, what we did is we took the same money you had, right? And we've gotten you 3 times the amount of life coverage. We're getting you out of debt 9 years early. We're putting a minimum of $300,000 more in your retirement account, probably millions more. By when you pay off the debt, we're gonna take the money and do it. And Jeff, how much did this cost you today? Cost you 0. Isn't that unbelievable? I want him to be overjoyed with what I've shown him. So Jeff, what we're gonna do is we're gonna do A, B, and C. I want you to get that list out of people you thought might benefit. Let's start writing while I'm helping you do this. And Jeff, think about this. What if you could help the people you love and care about most do something like this? How would they feel about you? How would you feel about you? Imagine if you could make $1,000 every time you did that. And we could maybe start fully funding that retirement right away, right? And so I'm gonna recruit, I'm gonna get the list, right? And he's making me the list. I'm gonna say, Jeff, if you get involved with me, these will be your clients. You're giving me the people either way, right? Okay? If you don't get involved with me, they'll be my clients and referrals like we talked about. Okay? So I closed all the stuff up. I got the list. If I can recruit them, I'm recruiting them. And we're done. Everybody understand?
Yes.
It's a lot faster, right, when I show you without 27 questions every time, right?
Yeah. Right.
So when do you address like any rollovers or things like that?
Okay, so I addressed the rollover when? On the first sit down, I said, 2 things I want to take tonight with me to look. One is any retirement stuff. So I know if there's a rollover when I come back.
When you do the rollover.
What,
at that time?
Yeah, so when I come back to the FNA and I know there's a rollover, I'm going to start with that conversation. Yeah, and I'm just going to show them, here's why you should move this money, blah, 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 and then I'm going to do this. Yep. Because this isn't going to address why they should roll over the money. It's going to find the rollover money, and it's going to account for the rollover money in the sum total, but I'm going to explain why they should move it. It's a good question.
What about educational needs that there's a tab?
I have done this for almost 11 years. I have opened in my 11 years 0 college savings funds for anybody. And here's why. Because there's a hierarchy of investments, and in a parent's retirement account, they can make withdrawals for children's college education with no penalty. So in my 11 years almost of doing this, I have never met anybody completely maxing out every form of qualified savings for retirement.
They don't have to pay income tax on that.
Correct, because it's deductible. So what happens is, if you're not fully funding everything else and you put money into a kid's savings account, you're getting the same tax benefit as if you were putting it in your own account, except if little Timmy doesn't go to school, you get a 50% penalty to pull it back out. If little Timmy doesn't go to school and is sitting in your retirement account, it's still your money. Okay? So college funds are set up as additional savings mechanism for people who are fully funding all of their own available retirement contributions. I've never seen it. I mean, it's like thousands a month that they'd have to be saving to even consider that, right? And so I know other guys have seen it, I've just never seen it.
So you're saying they can pull money out of their IRA?
Correct, for a
before
child's
they
education.
hit-
Before 59 and a half, for a child's qualified educational expense with no penalty. Yep, so that money goes there first, right? Because you can't take it back out of Timmy's college fund when you're poor in retirement. Like, give me that money back, bro. It's his, right? It's his. And if he doesn't use it appropriately, then the IRS penalizes the snot out of you to get it back out.
So that only happens to people who are being sold on their kids.
What do you mean?
So they are doing up their house not in order.
Correct. Yeah. It's a great sales pitch to gullible people who don't understand anything about money, but right. Yep, that's how it works. All right, guys, we're done. Thank you very much.